through there, though. I thought he was going to make it 3 wide. He doesn't quite manage it. Bob's back in behind David Asprey, maybe trying to slipstream him there, as Asprey gets back ahead of Nigel Ralphson as they blast round the back turn 1. The only oval racing scene at Rockingham these days is the Pickup Truck Championship. Sadly, IndyCar no longer making its visits to the UK. Alex Knight all over the back of number 80 of David Asprey now. Behind them, Chris Thomas in number 84. Ahead of this group is Mick Nichols. Behind them is Peter Higton. Mark II MR2, the Class B cars, the numerically dominant machines. Quite a few Class C roadsters, the Mark IIIs, making their mark in this series now as well. Stuart Nichols currently in 4th place in the overall championship. He leads Class C and leads their points as well. While in Class A, it's Paul Calloway. We should have seen Gareth Baxter, the man from the Royal Air Force, out in this one in a Mark I MR2 as well, but unfortunately he's not here. Number 13 there, David Shedd, recovering from his off on the first lap through the field. As here is the battle for 3rd place, Lewis Ward and number 88 of Stuart Nichols. Shane Mansbridge further back, Martin Farrelly, Mick Nichols. Then the dice between Ralphson and, oh, we've got a spinner there. That is Maxine Nichols, the 3rd member of the Nichols family, spins off at Gracelands. Very easy to do that there in a rear-wheel drive car. Let's go on board with Maxine and see what happened. Yes, the back end just got away from her, going into the corner and off backwards onto the grass she goes. Luckily avoids the gravel trap. She'll try to get it going again. Yep, the engine fires straight back into life and she rejoins behind Class A leader Paul Calloway. So it's Trainer from White up front, Ward in 3rd place, then Stuart Nichols in number 88. 5th is Graham Mailings, Jim Davies down in 6th. Up to 7th now, we have Ben Rowe. He's got ahead of Paul Cook, then Shane Mansbridge and Martin Farrelly completing the top 10 in this first of 2 races here today for the 750 Motor Club Toyota MR2 Championship. On board with Lewis Ward. Oh, he's got a problem at Dean Hairpin. He spins away 3rd place and he's just avoided there by that was a lucky escape for Jim Davies, the championship leader, nearly hit him head on. Graham Mailing's just about getting through there as well, so disaster for Lewis Ward. He's lost 3rd place. I think he's dropped out of the top 10 with that spin. Yes, there he is, trying to get going again. He's going to be well down when he does so. And we've got another car in the gravel. I think that's at Gracelands, number 36. Will Powell has gone off backwards in the Rogue Motorsport car, and he is in axle deep. Red flag has come out, and that's lucky for Lewis Ward because the result will be counted back a lap. Sean Trainer taking the win by 3 seconds ahead of Chris White. Lewis Ward does indeed get 3rd place ahead of Stuart Nichols, who wins Class C. Mailings and Davies complete the top 6, then Ben Rowe holds off Paul Cook. Shane Mansbridge and Martin Farrelly completing the top 10. Beyond that, Mick Nichols in 11th. Nigel Ralphson beats David Asprey in a fine fight for 12th. And further down in outside the top 20 even, number 92 Paul Calloway was the winner of Class A for the Mark Is.
Sean Trainer, winner of that MR2 Championship race. Not a lot going on, to be fair, so it just kind of let you get away.
Yeah, just let me sort of drive my own race and just sort of keep looking in the mirror and watch them battle. And I thought the longer they battle, the better it is for me out here on my own. But I think, like Chris, I think he's put some fast laps in at the end there, so we'll have to see what lap times are for next race. But yeah, the car's going well. Lee's got it sorted again as usual. I've just got the easy job coming here, putting it around the track. So.
It's a little bit easier for you though, because you can just kind of try and rack up those wins while everyone else is thinking about the championship.
Yeah, like Scott, I know that's gone this year, so I'm sort of just trying to get everything sorted ready for next year. So hopefully the car's coming together, and hopefully we can start next year afresh and not have such a bad start.
Christian White coming home there in 2nd place. Yeah. The main focus for you, of course, towards the end of this year is that championship, but it's one up on Jim.
Yeah, I mean, it's good to get a bit of a result there. I had not the best start off the line, and Lewis got alongside me and had to give him room into the hairpin, and so it was probably cost us both a bit of time to let Sean get away. Unfortunately, I was kind of reeling him in a little bit at the end, and probably needed another couple of laps really.
You've got one more race to come. Any changes you can make to the car before then?
No, the car feels okay. It's a bit better than it was this morning qualifying. We've come in with tyre pressures really too high, so we didn't have much grip, and no, it seems better. So no, I think it's just leave it alone. Yeah.
But definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah, hopefully so.
Great stuff. Lewis Ward getting yourself on the podium. A good race until the spin.
Yeah, fairly quiet race to be honest. The front 4, we kind of gapped each other, and the gap remained roughly the same until the last lap there, where I outbraked myself into the first hairpin, but yeah, luckily the red flags came out for another incident, and yeah, the race went back to the positions for the way we finished the last lap. So.
A good mix of corners here at Rockingham, and of course the long straight as well. Does that lend itself to good overtaking?
Yeah, I think so. It's good overtaking opportunity down into the hairpin. I managed to get past Chris on the first lap down into there. But yeah, it's a new track to me. I've never driven it until this morning, so I'm really pleased with how it's gone.
You're looking to go a couple of better positions in race 2?
Yeah. I've had a couple of seconds, couple of thirds this year. Just not yet won a race, so I'm no longer in the championship hunt, but see if I can get a race win this afternoon. Thank you to Russ Hennessy for the setup he's done on the car, and also my sponsors.
Cheers, Lewis.
Cheers, thank you very much.
Next up on track, it's the Protec Shocks Sports Specials, their second race of the weekend. Matthew Booth in his MK Indy was the winner yesterday, and he sits on pole position here, the Yorkshireman, alongside Paul Rhodes in number 40. We're told it's his last ever race here at Rockingham. He's in the FRS Arrow on the front row of the grid. Number 82, Rob Johnston in the Sienna is behind him, and alongside them Paul Boyd in car number 2 with his Eclipse SM1. So we get underway then on board with Stuart Adam in car 67. Oh, and I heard a crunch there. It's like Stuart Adam having trouble with the gears, and he's losing a host of places as we head through turn number 1. So Stuart Adam at the wheel of his ARD SR2 struggling off the line. It's Rob Johnston who looks like he's going to get the lead as they go into Dean Hairpin for the first time, but Matthew Booth is there on the inside, very busy in behind them there. It looks like everybody is going to get round though. Last man through, David Roberts in his Sienna, the only Class A car in the race. Back on board with Stuart Adam, a lot of tyre smoke, somebody locking up ahead of us as we go past Stuart Much in number 77. Chasing now Paul Dudley in his Tiger R6. Matthew Booth has held the lead of the race then, ahead of Rob Johnston in the Sienna Mark II, number 82 there. And in third place is one of the Eclipses, that's number 3 of Clive Hudson. Big lock up there from the car number 68. Mick Grant in his Tiger RS6. He's ahead of number 5. That's Nigel Brown in his Silver Phaser. Real eclectic mixture of kit cars and specials in this series. Matthew Booth in the MK Indy looking for his second win of the weekend. Had a win on a rather slippery track yesterday. Drier conditions thankfully today. Paul Collingwood trying to make a move there in his Eclipse SM1. 3 of those in the top 5 at the moment. Trying to move through there. Oh, we've got a spinner. Number 9, that is Martin Farrelly. We saw him out in the MR2s. And number 40 rather, of Paul Rhodes has gone as well. Oh dear, not a good start to his last ever race. Martin Farrelly in the Rogue Zenon. A car described in some blurb I saw at the Autosport show this year at the NEC as an abject lesson in power to weight ratios. So we'll see if Martin Farrelly can recover off the field then, the man who we saw in the Toyota MR2s earlier on. Riding on board here with John Moore in his FRS Arrow, coming up from the back of the grid and already making good progress. 61 Paul Dudley under fire there from number 5 Nigel Brown, who goes right round the outside of him, coming round the back section of the circuit. One of the Siennas in there, Anton Landon, I think that is in the middle of that group there. In number 40, round the outside of him though goes 67 Stuart Adam, recovering from his poor start. Matthew Booth and Rob Johnston leading the way out in front then, as look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them all over each other in the midfield. This is cracking stuff. Anton Landon in number 4 ahead of the number 6. That's John Moore moving up from the back of the grid. He's ahead of Paul Dudley. down towards Dean Hairpin. Can he get him on the brakes around the outside? That's a brave move. Has he done it? They're side by side, absolutely together through Dean Hairpin. I think Collingwood has just about done enough to hold him off as they come out of the hairpin up towards Yentwood. Yes, he has. So Collingwood has got the lead, makes it stick ahead of Matthew Booth. They're well ahead of the rest now. Clive Hudson still heading the battle for third place with Paul Boyd and Rob Johnston. Here's a fight further back in the midfield. 67 Stuart Adam recovering in the ARD from that poor start. 69 Wayne Rothwell's Ginetta now behind him. And there is the number 5. That's Nigel Brown, the silver phaser. It's almost like one of the RGB cars that we saw earlier on. On board again here with John Moore, number 6 in the FRS Arrow. Starting from the back of the grid. Racing down, I think that's Mick Grant in the Tiger, the black machine ahead of us, the man from Watford. John Moore is from Sandhurst. Coming through Chapman Kerr. Up towards Piff Paff. We said earlier, so named because you go Piff and then Paff off the curbs. Down into the left-hander, that's Kirby, and the Tiger runs wide. Mick Grant, is he going to cut back in? Yes, he is. Closes the door on John Moore and holds his place. Into the closing stages now. Matthew Booth's not finished yet, he's back up the inside. Into Dean Hairpin for the last time, and he retakes the lead. They're coming up to lap the only Class A car in the race of David Roberts. Is he going to get in their way? Matthew Booth somehow holds his lead there as they go into Yentwood. Collingwood will fight back though, the yellow Eclipse. Dave Roberts moves aside, lets them through. Through towards Piff Paff for the last time. It's still tense between these two. Matthew Booth in 56, the MK Indy. Paul Collingwood, number 15, the Eclipse SM1. Round towards Kirby. Has Collingwood lost his chance? Going to take an audacious move here if he's going to fight back against Matthew Booth. His main hope will be to close up in the twisty bits and then try and slipstream him, I think, on the run to the finish line. Here they come, down towards Tarzan. It's just between these two now. They're well ahead of the third place fight. Both of them run a little bit deep there into Tarzan Hairpin. Still the MK Indy's got the lead. Collingwood gets the marginally better exit from Tarzan corner. Past the race school, up towards Brook for the last time. Collingwood, is he going to make a move here into the Brook chicane? No, he's not. The left, the right, then left again and onto the oval. Collingwood, is he within slipstreaming distance? I think he is. He's going to try to get down the inside as they come up towards the finish line. Booth squeezes him towards the inside. They're going to finish side by side, and Collingwood's got it on the run to the line. Superb finish. What a drive by Paul Collingwood. He defeats Matthew Booth at the death there. Absolutely fantastic racing. Clive Hudson will take third, Paul Boyd fourth, Rob Johnston has to settle for fifth. That is a fantastic drive. A first win in the Eclipse SM1 for number 15, Paul Collingwood from Lincolnshire, defeating Matthew Booth at the very last corner. Booth tried to squeeze him on the run to the line there, but he couldn't quite stop him getting through. And the result of that one then, a win for Paul Collingwood by just 0.3 of a second ahead of Matthew Booth. Hudson topping the battle for third ahead of Boyd and Johnston. Stuart Adam, after his poor start, came through the sixth ahead of Nigel Brown. Then Wayne Rothwell, Anton Landon and Paul Dudley rounding out the top 10. Further back beyond that, that penalty had significance for Martin Buckland. He took the win on the road in Class B, but dropped down to 19th place. Bridget Smart inherits the Class B win, and that could have implications come the overall championship deciders.
Paul Collingwood, what a great victory that was. A superb race, and you got it by your skin of your teeth on that final corner.
Fantastic lap. Matt got past me on the previous lap, and I knew I had to stop really close to him and out-drag him to the line, so that's what I did.
It seems like the Eclipse has got some good straight line speed.
It's very aerodynamic, yeah.
Matthew Booth, great weekend it's been, but that race, second place, and how unlucky it was on that final corner.
Yeah, I knew I had the speed on the straight and that had out-dragged me by the line, so I think I was trying to hold him up a bit, but then I lost a bit of traction and he got past. So, in the end, it was a good race. I'm happy with the points I got and I had fun, yeah.
You did have some good moves though. I think that the car was good on the brakes down towards the hairpin.
Yeah, well, I think the only thing that holds that car back is the aerodynamics and straight line speed, but through corners and into brakes, it's absolutely amazing, so yeah, it's a good car.
Clive Hudson on the podium, third place, but what a little fight that was between you and a few others.
Yeah, it was a good race. You know, the sports specials always makes for good racing. We do seem to mix it up somehow on different circuits, different people, different speeds. It's great.
I think the only shame is because you were fighting, the top two got away.
Yeah, they did a bit, but you know that's the way it goes sometimes, isn't it? And to be fair, I think you'll find they were both quite a bit faster than me. So That's it around here.
More great action coming up after this short break.
Down here, one of the drivers from the K-Tech Clio 182 Championship, and it's our championship leader, Pat Fletcher. Pat, here this weekend at Rockingham, a very important weekend, the final round. Come here as a championship leader. What are you hoping for?
Yes, I come into the final round 4 points in the lead on 1 round drop scores, I believe. Ideally, I need to win one of the races today to guarantee to win the championship. So that's what I'm ideally looking for. Or to outpoint Barkey in every race possible. Yeah, that's my aim for today.
It's been a great year though. You've had, I think, 6 wins. You've been on the podium every single round, so it's been a stellar year. Yeah,
every race this year's been really good. I felt like I could have won the race or been in a chance to win the race and been on the podium in every race so far. So yeah, my car's been top this year. So yeah, so far a very good year.
As you said though, you've got a very strong competitor. James Barkey he's been there right the way through.
Yeah, Barkey's won. We've won 50% of the races each, so it's very close.
James Barkey, you are the contender as well within the Clio 182 Championship. Your position though, you're the chaser. How's that feel for you?
I'm used to it after last year, really. We was chasing all last year. We had similar to this year, we had a not as good middle part of the season. I won the last 2 at Snetterton, and yeah, the odds are against us. Patrick's definitely in favour, although he's only 4 points ahead of us. I've got to beat him in both, and have no one else beat me. So it's close, but I'd rather be in front, but I don't mind chasing.
So time for the first of 2 races here today for the K-Tech Racing Clio 182 Championship. Just 4 points in it in the standings between former Stock Hatch champion Patrick Patch Fletcher and James Bark. They finished level on points in last year's championship. It was James Bark who took the title on a tiebreak. Patrick Fletcher in pole position then with Nick Garner's blue car alongside him. They get underway for this first Clio race of the weekend, and Patrick Fletcher makes a great start. James Bark trying to get through on the inside. The 2 title rivals up front as they head into the first turn. Mark Balmer in behind them in car number 53. He's trying to take 3rd place away. The yellow car there on the inside, that's Philip Wright, number 63, but it's Patch Fletcher who's just got the lead ahead of his title rival on the inside there as they head into Dean Hairpin for the first time. Everybody gets around, a couple of cars kick up some dirt at the back there. We go on board with Richard Thurbin in car number 78, got forced wide there by Martin Ward, another ex-Stock Hatch racer in number 10. The Entwood they go for the first time. Start to sort themselves out around the opening lap of this K-Tech Racing Clio 182 Championship event. Patrick Fletcher against James Bark at the front of the field for the race and the championship. James Bark knows he has to win to keep his title hopes alive, really, and he could lose 2nd place here because Mark Balmer trying to get through on the inside in car number 53. Further back in the order, number 7 there, that is James Sundler. And has James Bark lost 2nd place there? No, he hasn't. The 3 silver cars still 1, 2 and 3. Fletcher with the red stripe down the centre. Bark in 2nd place. 3rd is Balmer. It's Philip Wright up there in 4th place, trying to go through into 3rd into Tarzan. Yep, he's going to get through on the inside. Nick Garner from the front row is down into 5th place in the blue car, and Don de Graaf is up into 6th place in number 15, the black car. There's Richard Thurbin, our camera car with the checkered roof, as the leaders head this long crocodile of identical Clio 182s into Brook for the first time. All round the first lap okay. Patch Fletcher has the lead then, chased by James Bark. 3rd place is still Philip Wright in the yellow car. Then we've got Mark Balmer back in 4th. 5th is Nick Garner. Bark knows he has to get ahead to keep his title hopes alive. He took the title on a tie-break of more race wins last year. Forward with Nick Garner in the 42 car. He's keeping a watching brief on the leading pack ahead of him. Bark still on Fletcher's tail, trying to pressure him into a mistake, almost freewheeling his way through Dean Hairpin there, and a bit of an overshoot here from Richard Thurbin. He's going off at Dean Hairpin. Oh dear, Thurbin missed his braking point there, and he is going to rejoin in last place. So Richard Thurbin will have to fight his way back up again, just behind Daniel Spencer there in the 24 car. Fletcher leads, Bark 2nd, bouncing around on their suspension there through curbing. Or with Garner again, chasing Phil Wright. He's just made up one place. Pointing towards his opposition ahead, saying, I'm going after you. Nick Garner, he's going after Philip Wright. That's the fight for 4th and 5th position. Leaders head down towards the Tarzan hairpin once again. It's still Fletcher from Bach. Wright in 3rd, Garner 4th. Back to 5th now is Mark Balmer. He's just been taken by Garner. Ahead of him and side by side for the lead. The better exit from Tarzan there for James Bach. Side by side, they bounce off each other, and that's not the wing mirror off Pat Fletcher's car. You can see it hanging off there, but Fletcher's got the inside line for the entry to the Brook S's, and he keeps the lead. Right on the bumper of Bach there for 2nd place. Could he get through? Garner up the inside of Wright as a result of that, and he's going to take 3rd place away. So he's gone from 3rd to 5th and back to 3rd again within a couple of laps, or has he? Because here comes Wright. He's got the better straight line speed, the yellow car, but Garner's got the inside. Terrific fight here for 3rd place. Behind them is Mark Balmer in the 53 car. Wright moves across. Oh, he nearly didn't see Balmer there. That could have been a big accident there. Mark Balmer through into 4th place as a result. Patch Fletcher still just about holds the lead ahead of James Bach. 5 of them fighting for the lead. Fantastic racing from the Clios. Phil Wright was caught on the outside line there coming into Dean. He's dropped back into 5th place. Tried to move across to protect his line, but Mark Balmer was in his way. They nearly came together. So they head now through Chapman Curve up towards Piff Paff once again. Patrick Fletcher. Could he win the title for the first time? It's only the 2nd year that the Clio 182 Championship has been contested by the 750 Motor Club, supported as always by K-Tech Racing. And problems there. Number 90 is out of the race. That is Ryan Gillespie's car that's blown up. Cloud of steam there. The marshal's just checking on him, but it looks like there's no fire there. Ryan Gillespie's race is over. Meantime, Patrick Fletcher leads the Crocodile of Clios into the right-hander at Tarzan. At the back of the field is still the car that went off earlier on, I think. Number 14 there, that is Trevor Gregory. It's Richard Thurbin who went off earlier on, still towards the back. Number 27 there is Matthew Charlton. Plenty of battles all the way down the order, but still these 5 out in front. And Richard Garner trying to split the championship protagonists as they come out of the left-hander at Brook and up onto the oval once again. Can he get through into 2nd place? James Bach will have to try and defend, but Garner has got the inside line, but no. Been forced down onto the apron, as they say in NASCAR racing there, by James Bach. He holds 2nd. 5 cars line astern. It's like the 1981 Spanish Grand Prix when Gilles Villeneuve held off everybody. There's yellow flags out at Dean Hairpin, so no overtaking there. Somebody has had an off. Couldn't see who it was. Yellow flag out. It's on the run into turn 1 actually, so maybe somebody's pulled off there. The crowd loving every second of this up in the grandstand as 5 Clios fight for the lead of the race. James Bach on the attack, all over the back of Pat Fletcher here. These 2 friends off the track, but deadly rivals on it, fighting for the Clio 182 title for the 2nd year in succession. 3rd place is still Garner in the number 42. Fletcher still leads. 4th is Balmer, 5th Wright. Patch Fletcher, the former Stock Hatch champion in a Citroen Saxo. James Bach trying to close up. He gets a slightly tighter run through Gracelands. Could he get a run on him going into Tarzan? It's unlikely. Tries for the inside. Still that mirror dangling in the breeze on Pat Fletcher's car. They've pulled away slightly from Balmer and Wright, who are having their own fight now. The first 3 starting to pull away very slightly. Again, Fletcher defending there. They're side by side as they run into Brook, but he's got nothing to worry about. He's got the racing line. James Bach won't get through there. He might be in position to slipstream him, though, as they come up onto the oval over the start-finish line. He's got to be mindful that Nick Garner is there as well, though. James Bach has got to attack and defend at the same time. Pat Fletcher still leads the way. Bach pushing him as hard as he dares. Good clean racing, only that minor bit of contact on the run up School Straight, which resulted in Fletcher's mirror hanging off, and he has to move to the inside there. It's going to be 3 wide into Dean Hairpin. Fletcher's got the inside. He'll hold his lead, trying not to run wide on the exit. Garner's all over them. Still these 5 together. Down into the right-hander at Fletcher still ahead of Bach. Plenty for the photographers up on the bank there to capture in this one. This is superb racing from everyone involved. Bark turns up the wick again, trying a run at Piff Paff. He won't get through there. Patch Fletcher holds him off again over the curbs. And on the brakes for the left-hander at Kirby. They're rocking about on their suspension. Look at the 85 car of Bark and 63 Phil Wright kangarooing their way around there. They're on the absolute limit here at Rockingham. Fletcher's actually pulled away a little bit as a result of that bouncing about for James Bark. Here they come into the left-hander at Gracelands. Rest of the pack not able to close up on them. Still Patch Fletcher soaking up the pressure. That mirror seems to have jettisoned itself from his car. Further back in the order, in sixth place, looks like Aaron Sharp, number 35. Martin Ward running a little bit wide there into Tarzan. Plenty of scraps all the way down the order. There's the number 66 car. That's Ross Borman on the tail of Trevor Gregory. Behind them, Matt Charlton in number 27. They're battling for the minor placings towards the bottom of the field in this K-Tech Racing Clio 182 championship race. I don't think the championship's going to be decided in this one. I think it's going to go down to the finale, the second race on today's programme. Down into Dean Hairpin for the first time, for the next time. And up to the inside, here comes James Bark up on the inside, he's on the curb, he's side by side with Fletcher, he's trying to go through on the inside, he pushes Fletcher wide on, he goes onto the grass, and Bark will take the lead. Also involved there, Mark Balmer, a bit of contact in there as they avoided Patch Fletcher's car. Well, there was no contact there, that was a pure opportunist move by James Bark. Brilliant bit of driving there, a determined bit of driving as well. He just threw everything he got down the inside on the curbs and forced Patrick Fletcher to go wide, and he's down to second place. Now this will keep James Bark's championship hopes alive. Here they come through Kirby, onto Steel Straight. Aaron Sharp's closed up a bit on them as well. Mark Balmer dropped back there. He made a bit of contact in there, trying to avoid Pat Fletcher's car as he rejoined. Phil Wright a bit further back as well in fourth place, as James Bark trying to hang on in front. His mirror's flapping now, so they've got identical damage, these two. And Pat Fletcher put a wheel onto the grass there, going into the right-hander at Tarzan. Nearly lost it. He could lose second place here to Nick Garner. Here they come then, up towards the Brook S's once more. Phil Wright on the back of the 42 car of Nick Garner for third place in this breathless Clio 182 race, and Wright hits the back of Garner coming through the S's. He's trying to lead him wide. Hopefully Garner won't get lean wide into the wall, but Wright is through into third. There goes another mirror flying away there as we enter the last lap. James Bark has pulled away from Pat Fletcher now. He looks to be heading for victory. My goodness me, absolutely breathless action here from the Clios. It's not over for third yet either. Phil Wright still ahead of Nick Garner. Garner going for the inside into Dean Hairpin. Phil Wright's running wide, he's going off. Phil Wright goes off, and that settled that one. He's onto the grass, just as Richard Thurbin did earlier on. So easy to do that there. Phil Wright drops down the order and is towards the back behind Martin Ward in number 10. So the lead battle that's been 5 alive all the way through has been broken up a little bit in the closing stages, with James Bark heading for victory. Somebody else had gone off at Dean Hairpin in the background, I noticed there as well. Couldn't quite see who it was. May well have been James Sundler, number 7, one of the blue cars. Through Kirby come the leaders for the last time then. James Bark, Pat Fletcher. The title is going down to the last race of the year. Third place is still Nick Garner. A little further behind in fourth, it is now Mark Balmer, despite a little bit of damage from earlier on. Aaron Sharp is fifth. We'll confirm the rest of the places at Flagfall. Well, James Bark with a superb move down the inside. Dean Hairpin to steal the lead from Pat Fletcher, forcing him wide onto the grass at the exit. An absolutely brilliant race we have seen here from the K-Tech Racing Clio 182 Championship. 27 Matt Charlton, still chasing 66 of Ross Borman. Further back in the order, but it's all about the top two. They're taking their championship fight down to the wire. James Bark wins race 1 for the Clios ahead of Pat Fletcher. Nick Garner is third. Fourth place goes to Mark Balmer. I don't know about the drivers, but I'm out of breath after that one. And still plenty more action to come from here at Rockingham Absolutely fantastic racing from our Renault Clios. As the pack come across the line, we'll check out the result of that one then. James Bark taking the win by half a second ahead of Pat Fletcher. Nick Garner just another second back in third ahead of Mark Balmer, Aaron Sharp and Simon Donoghue completing the top 6. Then Don de Graaf, Nick Passmore, Martin Ward and Phil Wright after his off completing the top 10. Further back beyond them, Rob Armitage was 11th ahead of James Sundler. Fighting back to 17th after his spin at Dean Hairpin was Richard Thurbin in our camera car.
James Bark, winner there of the first Clio 182 championship race, which was a really hard-fought race between you and Pat.
Yeah, it was great. I love races like that. It was proper because Nick was behind me, Phil was behind him, and I think Mark was behind him. It was, it's how Clio racing should be. It was really close. It's good. No damage on the car though, which is ideal. It was close, but we all kept it. There was bits and bobs when we was fairly close, but nothing malicious. It was a cracking race. Really enjoyed that one. Love them ones.
Pat Fletcher coming through there in second place. It was a really, really good scrap between you and James. Kept it clean, which is good stuff, but he just got that little edge over you.
Yeah, I started on pole. I got a good start and kept the lead going into turn 1 and turn 2. And then it was a matter of just trying to keep it in defending the right places because I didn't feel the tyres were as good as in qualifying. And then Barky got on the inside, just going into the hairpin, and I knew I'd have the inside for the next right-hander. But I think Barky must have had a lot of understeer or something because the next thing I know I was forced out onto the grass and that gave me second. So yeah, all to play for in the final round.
It was really hard though because there was a few others in there to try and keep your eye on as well.
Yeah, Nick Garner, he was quick as well. He caught us up at the end as well, so it was a close battle.
Nick Garner getting yourself on the podium there after that race, and it was a really good race, very close.
It was a really close race. Was on second from the grid, got a bit of a bad start, dropped down to 5th actually. But we had the pace, so we were just able to climb our way up into 3rd. But Patch and Barky were having a real battle, so I really didn't want to get involved with the championship there. Didn't feel like it was worth having a go up the inside.
Well, I think we all need a breather after that one. More race action coming up after this break. More hatchback action next up here at Rockingham Motor Speedway, the Hot Hatch and Stock Hatch series. Let's talk to some of the drivers first of all.
Adam Reed racing within the Hot Hatch series this year. First off, you've done pretty much every round. How's it gone?
Yeah, really well. Really good series. I've been, done every single round so far. So yeah, it worked really well.
Nice to see a few more cars coming out to play and having some good fights.
Yeah, there's a few more from the first round to this round. There's a lot more coming out now, so it's getting a good series around next year.
Alice Hughes, one of the drivers that races within the Hot Hatch series. Great to see you here at Rockingham. How's it going so far this year?
So far so good really. I mean the cars are brand new for this season, so had a bit of a mishap with the gearboxes, but we managed to get here. It's all running so far. I mean Tom, my teammate, he's having a bit of an issue with second at the moment, and I'd probably take both the hairpins in second, so it's quite an essential gear for this track I'd say. But we'll see how we get on.
And of course you're out at Silverstone, you've got a second place there.
Yeah, and a fastest lap, which, I was really happy with that. It was the first, that was the debut with it as well. So, yeah, we're getting on really well, to be honest.
So a combined grid then for the Royal Purple Hot Hatch series and the Demon Tweaks Yokohama Stock Hatch Citroen Saxos. They'll start 10 seconds after the Hot Hatches. In pole position is Tom Bell in his Ford Fiesta, racing a borrowed car today. Borrowed from Leon Shepherd after gearbox trouble with his own. It's a good start from the Honda Civic in the middle of the grid there. That is Will Ashmore. Doesn't quite get through though. It's the Fiesta that leads the way into the first corner. Tom Bell with Andrew Chang having made a good start in his BMW. He's under fire from Will Ashmore in the Civic though, up the inside into Dean for the first time. And Tom Bell ploughs off, bounces over the dirt on the outside there of Dean Hairpin. Meantime, the Stock Hatch cars have been released from their separate grid. They'll have their own battle. A good close fight in their championship between Ryan Polly and Paul Jarvis at the top of their series. Back on board with Andrew Chang. He didn't make the most of his good start there. He's dropped down to 4th place now. The two Fiestas ahead of him there, of Tom Bell and Alice Hughes as they head out onto the back of the circuit for the first time. Tom Bell recovering from his off at the hairpin, goes past Alice Hughes, one of the 750 Motor Club's leading female racers. Gets taken outright win, she's down to third. This Royal Purple Hot Hatch Series, first of 2 races for them today. Pick up on the stock hatches in just a moment. Further back, their title contenders Ryan Polly and Paul Jarvis, but it's Will Ashmore also competing in the Armed Forces Challenge race here at Rockingham this weekend in the Civic that leads the way, his first ever hot hatch race. Nice mixture of cars here, BMWs, Fiestas, Astras, a Golf in there as well. That's being driven by Rachel Pearson. Ashmore in the Honda leads. Tom Bell, despite being in a borrowed car, in second place. Hughes third. The Vauxhall Astra of Matthew Howarth, one of the original hot hatches from the old series back in the 90s, is in fourth place. Looking back towards the stock hatch cars there, towards the back, it's Phil Law, number 50, who's leading them. We're on board with Will Ashmore in number 61. A clear track in front of him as his Civic charges round turn 1, then hard on the brakes shortly for Dean Hairpin. And up the inside here comes the number 46 car of Tom Bell. Well, he may not be in his usual car, but he's fought back after that off here at Dean Hairpin earlier on. Retakes the lead from Will Ashmore. Alice Hughes in her Fiesta ST in third place, and Ashmore, well, he had a clear track ahead of him last time we were on board. Now it's filled with Ford Fiesta. Tom Bell, the former stock hatch star, back into the lead, non-rival of Patrick Fletcher, if memory serves me right, the Clio star. Will Ashmore down to second then. The Armed Forces driver up into the left-hander at Kirby. Third is Alice Hughes, these 3 pulling away from Matthew Howarth in fourth. Alistair Camp, the former Bangor racer, attacking him in his Fiesta as we go on board with Rob Fagg racing further back in the order in the stock hatch division, the Demon Tweaks Yokohama stock hatch. It looks as though Paul Jarvis may well have got through into the lead of them up ahead, passing Rachel Pearson in the VW Golf. Bell leads it, Ashmore second, Hughes third. Here comes Alistair Camp in the Ford Fiesta. He's also in a borrowed car. That's the car that Shane Deegan, another former stock hatch champion, took a win in at Cadwell Park. Side by side with Matthew Howarth, and Camp goes through. Regular oval racer in both Bangors and the 850cc Rebels formula. Then we've got Andrew Chang in his BMW Compact. Here's a battle further back in the order. This is in the stock hatch division. We've got Rob Fagg in the yellow car, and behind him is young Ryan Polly in number 36, the current points leader. The grandson of hot rod racing legend George Polly runs a bit wide there onto the curbs at Gracelands. Now, he was involved in a collision at Cadwell Park in the previous meeting with Paul Jarvis, and that affected his chances, allowed Jarvis to pull back some points in the championship. Polly with a narrow lead coming into this round, fighting here with Robert Fagg, the man from Ashford in Kent, in the yellow car. Needs to move up the order if he's going to keep his title challenge alive here. Ryan Polly from Cambridgeshire. All his family have raced on the ovals. Ryan very successful in junior mini stocks racing on mainly the ovals of the Midlands. But the hot hatch division currently being led by the number 4 of Paul Jarvis. Chasing there, the man with certainly the best name to me in this race, number 94, Mac Dr. Evil McCarthy, a tattooist and body modification expert from the West Midlands in his Fiesta ST. There is Paul Jarvis, car number 4, looking to take the points lead away perhaps from Ryan Polly in today's 2 races. Behind him is number 50 of Phil Law, the black and blue car there from Swindon. Paul Jarvis challenging the quicker Royal Purple Hot Hatch Series cars. Hot Hatches are a series, not a championship, so no points awarded for them. And Dr. Evil is under fire here from Paul Jarvis. Where's Austin Powers when you need him? Paul Jarvis gets ahead there through Piff Paff. Good move by the Saxo, but he runs wide on the exit. And Dr. Evil's Fiesta under fire now from another of these Saxos, that's Phil Law. They're first and second in the stock hatch division, sponsored by Demon Tweaks and Yokohama tyres. Rob Fagg and Ryan Polly currently battling for third in that division. There they are in the background. Phil Law's got his headlights on, currently fourth in the stock hatch points. All the stock hatch drivers in Citroën Saxo VTRs, certainly the car to have. They head out of Tarzan up School Straight. Ryan Polly trying to make a move as Phil Law gets past back Dr. Evil McCarthy, puts his headlights off as well. He's got past the slightly slower Hot Hatch racer. Still, Rob Fagg continues to hold off Ryan Polly. This is good racing between these two for third in class. On board with Rob Fagg, car 28 now. Can he get his way past Mac Dr. Evil McCarthy, man from Wolverhampton? Up through the gears, they head into turn 1. Cars hit their maximum speed on this part of the circuit. It's down into the left-hander at Dean Hairpin. We've seen plenty of cars run wide onto the dirt and the grass there today. Paul Jarvis doesn't though, chasing after one of the BMW compacts there, so he's going well here, overlapping with the Hot Hatches, who are still led by overall leader Tom Bell in Leon Shepherd's Fiesta, his own having gear selection problems, as we heard earlier from Alice Hughes, who's currently holding off Alistair Camp in another Fiesta for third place. Alistair Camp still does enjoy the occasional outing in the Bangers and on the circuits of the Midlands, the man from Derbyshire, when time allows. Liked his Honda Civics during his days in the Bangers, but favours a Ford Fiesta for 750 Motor Club Hot Hatch events. Chasing Alice Hughes here, good battle between the two Fords. Up ahead of them though is the Honda Civic and the Ford Fiesta. Ford with Alice Hughes in number 16, fighting it out with Alistair Camp. And up front, Bell and Ashmore are getting away. Just glimpsed them ahead there. Head through turn 1. Alice Hughes still in third place. Can she hang on ahead of Alistair Camp? Down into Dean Hairpin they come. Camp on the outside, or try and cut back in, I'm sure, on the exit to try and take third place away. A cloud of smoke there. Is that somebody going off, or is that a car in trouble? That's a car in trouble. On board with Will Ashmore. It's a Fiesta that's suffered engine trouble. Didn't quite see who it was. It's I think the number 40. No, that's Bell. That's Bell in trouble there. The number 46. I was confused by the change in paint job, as Tom Bell is in a borrowed car there. Apologies. Meantime, further back in the order, Ryan Polly has finally got his man. He's got past Rob Fagg going into the Brook S's. Good move there from young Ryan Polly, up into third in class. So Tom Bell in trouble, we saw there. His engine going up in smoke. So it'll be Will Ashmore who has taken the lead overall. Apologies there for the delay in identification as Mac Dr. Evil McCarthy runs across the grass ahead of Ryan Polly. It was the change of car that caught me out there. Tom Bell, as we mentioned earlier, not in his usual car, and his engine has sadly let go and he is out of the race. So it'll be Will Ashmore on his own up front. We ride once again with Rob Fagg chasing after Ryan Polly, and Dr. Evil in his Fiesta is now back ahead of them. Hot Hatch versus Stock Hatch back in the midfield. Meantime, the Stock Hatch leaders, Paul Jarvis and Phil Law, catching one of the BMW compacts there. That's Dan Collett, number 107. Side by side, Polly and Mac Dr. Evil McCarthy. Chased by Rob Fagg in the number 28. Through Piff Paff they come. Oh, the leader out on his own now. Will Ashmore in the Honda Civic, man from Orpington in Kent, the Armed Forces representative. He's looking likely to take his first Hot Hatch win as Ryan Polly attacks the BMW of Dan Collett. This is great stuff from the less powerful 1600cc Saxos against the mainly 2-litre Hot Hatch cars. On board with Rob Fagg, battling it out in the tail end of this group, running a bit wide through Gracelands there. Ryan Polly in the maroon-coloured car ahead of us on the tail of the BMW. And Dr. Evil gets past Rob Fagg there. In the closing stages now of this Hot Hatch and Stock Hatch combined grid. Rob Fagg still on the tail of the number 94 car of Mac Dr. Evil McCarthy. Ryan Polly attacking the BMW there as they come back up onto the oval. We go on board with our race leader Will Ashmore. He's on his final lap, heading up towards Gracelands. He is heading for victory. He's just got 3 more corners to negotiate now. Down the straights, up towards Tarzan. inherited the lead when Tom Bell's engine let go on him. There's a battle further back in the order. It looks as though Paul Jarvis is going to win the stock hatch division. He's ahead of Kelly Williams in the number 77 Fiesta there. As Will Ashmore heads up School Straight, looks like Alistair Camp has got past Alice Hughes up into second place behind them. Into the Brook S's for the last time. Alistair Camp holding off the number 16 of Alice Hughes. The two Fiestas battling for second place. Well ahead of them is Will Ashmore. The yellow and blue Honda Civic comes through to take the checkered flag. Will Ashmore is elated. Absolutely superb. Alistair Camp holds off Alice Hughes for second place overall, and we'll wait to see who's going to come through to win the stock hatch division further back. Looks like it is going to be Paul Jarvis. There's a battle behind him. That is Phil Law, fourth in the points ahead of Ryan Polly. Behind them, the BMW, I think that's Mark Chang in that BMW, not Dan Collett, as I said earlier, sorry. So here comes Polly. Is he going to get past Phil Law on the run to the line? No, he is not. The number 50 car hangs on in front. Mac Dr. Evil McCarthy, meanwhile, holds on ahead of Rob Fagg. We'll confirm the full results of that combined hot hatch and stock hatch race then. Will Ashmore taking the win by just over 5 seconds ahead of Alistair Camp, who held off Alice Hughes to the line. Matthew Howarth fourth in his Astra ahead of Andrew Chang. David Allen completed the top 6, while down in 9th place overall, Paul Jarvis took a clear win in the Demons Weeks Yokohama stock hatch. Second in that division was Phil Law, just ahead of Ryan Polly. They were ahead of Mark Chang and Mac Dr. Evil McCarthy.
Will Ashmore, the winner there of the race overall, and of course the hot hatch part of the race as well. It was a good little victory.
Yeah, totally unexpected. I jumped on the series for today only, mainly to get my signatures up for the Burkitt in October. But the car, it's my second race that I've actually finished without a DNF, so it was nice to have a podium for my second race. I was here yesterday, obviously in the wet, that was a handful. But today, I mean, what an awesome facility, what an awesome track, and I really love it. Brilliant car, it suits my car perfectly with the gearing and everything. And it just pulled itself through. Obviously got lucky with the person that DNF broke down, but yeah, really happy.
Paul Jarvis, winner there of the stock hatch part of the race. A really good win for you again.
Yeah, big surprise to be able to win it by that margin. I was just quite lucky with the traffic really. They always fell normally on places where I could pounce and lose as little time as possible, and I was looking in the mirror, I could see that Phil was not so lucky when he was catching people, so I think that's what made it. But yeah, really pleased nonetheless. The car didn't miss a beat.
Marshall's clearing up a bit of debris after that one. We'll be back after this short break. Welcome back to Rockingham. Our next race is the CarTech Road Sports Series. A mixed grid for this one. We've already got trouble for the pole sitter. The Vauxhall Astra VXR of James Ross and Pete Edwards has pulled to the inside. They're going to have to start from the pit lane. So this 45-minute mini enduro race with a mandatory pit stop gets underway. BMW's all the way at the front of the grid, and it's Lakvinder Khaira, Lucky Khaira, as he's known to his friends, in the green car, who leads them off. Neville Anderson in second place. And the number 44 car started by Andy Marston, side by side with Matthew Evans for third, as they head down towards Dean Hairpin for the first time. Lucky Khaira it is who leads into the first corner. Oh, he's locked up, coming into Dean, he's going off. Off goes Lakvinder Khaira. Well, he wasn't too lucky there, was he? He's going to drop down to the back of the field. I hope he hasn't damaged the under tray of that BMW as well. He will rejoin in last place. There's James Ross in the Astra, having started from the pits. Andy Marston fighting for the lead with Jamie Sturgis in his Seat Leon Super Copa. Looks like the Leon is going through as they come into turn one. The red car on the inside there. He passes Andy Marston in the BMW M3. So a long way to go yet. A 45-minute race with pit stops. Some cars have a few seconds of success penalty as well at their mandatory pit stop. Jamie Sturgis is one of them. He has to stay stationary for an extra 5 seconds. Andy Marston and Brett Evans is M3 for an extra 10 seconds because of previous successes in their class. Third place, Neville Anderson. Used to compete in a Vauxhall Vectra with the Classic Sports Car Club's Future Classic Series. He's in third in his BMW. It's the Seat of Jamie Sturgis who leads the way. Into Kirby they come, the first two pulling clear. Beautiful sounding cars here in this Cartech Road Sports race. Real mixture of machinery we've got down the order in this one as well. You can see here a Mazda RX-8, a Ford Focus, the Astra of young James Ross fighting its way back up the order, and Petteri Jokinen, the Finnish driver, in his BMW Mini. In behind the Focus there, our former Track Day Trophy driver Paul Hatton, number 81. Liam Crilly, formerly a BMW champion, in his Mazda RX-8 at the head of this group, the rotary engine car, and ahead of them the little Peugeot of number 66. Number 68 rather, that's Steve Hewson in the Peugeot 106 GTI. Behind them Darren Langeveld there, the red and yellow Clio. There's a black and orange flag being shown there. That, I think, is for the Astra. We'll double check on that in a moment. James Ross sharing with racing instructor Pete Edwards. There you can see why the exhaust has fallen off underneath it. You can see it dragging underneath the car there. So the Astra in trouble, it's lost its exhaust. Not slowing it down now because it's back up with the leaders. See the bits of exhaust pipe dragging under the car there. They're going to have to be flagged into the pits. So more problems for James Ross and Pete Edwards in the Vauxhall Astra. First they didn't get off the start line. They fought their way back up to be with the leaders. Brilliant from young James Ross. He's going to take the lead of the race here, going into Tarzan from James Sturgis. But he's going to be flagged in because of that trailing exhaust, unfortunately, from his Vauxhall Astra VXR. Jamie Sturgis and Andy Marston in behind them. Marston up the inside in the BMW, bounces off the curb, nearly bounces off the Seat there into Brooke Esses. So the Astra still leads with that trailing exhaust. James Ross sharing with another ex-oval racer in the shape of Pete Edwards, but the black flag is now going out. They haven't heeded the black and orange flag for a technical problem, and the Astra, unfortunately, is going to be black flagged. Into the pits it comes. So does the Seat of Jamie Sturgis for his mandatory pit stop. He'll face an extra penalty as well. Lucky Kera coming in the background there as well. Hasn't had a very lucky start to this race, going off on the first corner. So Pete Edwards there with James Ross. Meantime, further back in the order, here's the Wright family, George and Jack, in their Porsche 944. They've got one of the BMW Minis in behind them. A couple of BMW Minis in this race. The Astra jacked up in the pits. They'll find out that the exhaust is missing theirs. Will Powell in his Toyota MR2. Ended up in the gravel in the MR2 race earlier on, rejoining after his mandatory pit stop there. The number 91 BMW Mini of Chris Tilley comes in. He's handing over to Andrew Rath, the big box self-storage sponsored machine. Out gets one driver, in gets the other. Number 69 there, the Renault Clio, Aaron Harding sharing with David Slater, pushing on hard. Behind them is the little white Ginetta. In comes one of our leading cars. That is Andy Marston, former Porsche racer. Brett Evans will get in to replace him. Hopefully they'll still be up there in the lead of the race. Let's hear from Andy Marston after his stint.
Andy Marston just jumped out of the BMW. Not a bad stint. You were leading when you came in.
Yeah, so he's good out there. I got Jamie in front of me to begin with. He was pulling some good laps, getting in the way a bit in the centre field. And yeah, I think our tyres are dropping off a little bit now, so fingers crossed.
In terms of the two cars, though, they seem pretty evenly matched.
Yeah, I think pretty much spot on all the way around the circuit. I've got him a little bit in the twisties. I think he's got bigger balls through the banking part, but yeah, it's good.
Do you reckon Brett can hold your pace?
Yeah, I think he can.
Great stuff, well done, Andy.
Thank you very much.
So let's see if the number 44 BMW can get back up into the lead. Well, at the moment it's Jamie Sturgis who holds the lead, and up into second place. A great recovery after his off is Lakvinder Kera, Lucky Kera, in his BMW M3, and he's challenging for the lead now. In behind them, the rare Caterham 21 we saw go a lap down there of David Fender. Lucky Kera challenging for the lead now on the back of Jamie Sturgis in the Seat. It's an MR2 in behind them. This has just been lapped. And Kera, has he taken the lead? Yes, he has, over on the back of the circuit. So Lucky Kera is back into the lead. A newcomer to racing this year. He's competed with the Kumho BMW Championship and also with the Classic Sports Car Club in their New Millennium Series. Running a bit deep there on the exit of Tarzan, but he's learned fast, has Lucky, and he is heading for victory in this Kartech Road Sports race. Excellent stuff from Lucky Carer, looking for his first overall win. Well, it was an unlucky start to the race with him going off at Dean Hairpin. So we see Petteri Jokinen chasing Liam Crilly here in the RX-8. We'll confirm the full results after the flag, but it is going to be a win for Lakhvinder Lucky Carer at the wheel of his big BMW M3. I don't think Jokinen is going to get through on the runs to the line there, not quite. Rest of the cars come home behind Lucky Carer. I believe that's his first overall race win as well. He's had a couple of class wins in his various series as well, but and it's his first overall win. Well done indeed to Lakhvinder Lucky Carer, who takes the win by 5.5 seconds ahead of Jamie Sturgis in the Seat. Andy Marston and Brett Evans, the early leaders, taking third. Baljinder Singh a fine fourth in his M3 ahead of the Wrights in their Porsche. Darren Langeveld in the Clio. Further down in the order, Paul Hatton's Ford Focus got 11th. The Rare Caterham was in the top 20 as well. David Fender just behind Josh Mounts and Russell Hennessy in their Toyota NR2 Roadster.
Lakhvinder, great race there. The BMW seems to perform really well.
Yeah, it does. Getting it there slowly. It's a bit roadish at the moment, but yeah, fourth race.
Happy with the win then?
Yeah, definitely.
Good fight though, because Jamie kept you honest in the Seat.
Yeah, well, he let me past actually, to tell you the truth. So yeah, it was a good race. Really happy to be here, and yeah.
Jamie Sturgis, always great to see the Seat laying out, and a great race today.
Yeah, it was really good. I was a little bit fortunate with a few people sort of falling off on the first corner, but I managed to pick my way through the spinning cars and pop out. I think I popped out second behind Andy in the BMW, and then shortly after that took the lead. And then it was just, I had a great tussle for sort of 5 or 6 laps, inches apart, and we were even checking at the end whether or not we'd actually made any contact. But it was a good, clean race, and really enjoyed that. And then pitted early. I had a little bit of a winner's penalty left over from an earlier race, so I pitted early and made sure I came out in clear traffic, and then just a matter of watching my mirrors for BMWs coming up after that.
And of course the Road Sport Series this year has had really good numbers, but on the other side you've got to kind of work your way through the traffic.
Yeah, it's not too difficult, and here where you've got the big straights, you've got plenty of width. It's not too bad. Back end of the circuit through Piff Paff, it's a little bit more awkward, but then you've got a few infield straights, so it's not too difficult, and it's all part of club racing.
Now time for some historic racing. The 750 Motor Club 750 Trophy, a mixture of Austin 7s and some old 750 Formula cars on the grid for this short race. We're on board with Martin Depper in his Centaur Mark IV. He makes a good start there, putting past Lyndon Thruston in his DNC Trophy. It's Lyndon's father, Gregan Thruston, in pole position for this race. Some very intriguing little machines on the grid for this one. As they head round turn 1 for the first time, it is Gregan Thruston in his Rawson Climax, which leads the way into Dean Hairpin for the first time. Are they all going to make it round? Looks like it. One car a bit sideways in there. That's Christian Pedersen in his Austin 7 Special. The Danish-born driver from the West Midlands. On board again here with Martin Depper. There's Christian Pedersen in front, really throwing his Austin 7. He calls it the fastest Austin 7 in the country, that car. Known as Miss Green, that car, although she is mostly yellow these days. Holding off the little white machine of Martin Depper, the Centaur Mark IV. So this field made up mainly of old 750 Formula racers here today. It is the summer festival for Austin 7s here. Nice to see a few Austin 7 specials towards the back of this grid. Side by side as they come down towards Dean Hairpin. On the outside there, Nigel Howard in the green HCS Mark II. Is he going to get round the outside there into Dean Hairpin? No, not quite. In behind them, the number 10 car, John Davies, with his Rapide 750 trophy car. There's Christian Pedersen again, smoking those tyres as he throws it into Yentwood. So good stuff so far. Gregan Thruston pulling away in front in his Rawson Climax from pole position. The Austin 7 category a little bit further back in the order for this one. Martin Depper still side by side there. May not be the quickest cars in the 750 Motor Club's lineup, but they certainly are intriguing machines. There's number 43, Paul Lawrence, has also raced a Porsche in his time. He's in a Race Kits Merlin. We saw some Race Kits products out in the 750 Formula earlier on. As they thread their way down into Dean Hairpin once again. Paul Lawrence all over the back of Martin Depper there. Just runs a bit wide onto the curbs. It's the battle a little further down the order. Gregan Thruston, it is leading the way up front. Roger Rowe will be up there with him as well, I think in the number 55 car, the man from Kidderminster. Martin Depper losing ground to Christian Pedersen though, having got ahead in his fight with Paul Lawrence. Through the curves of Piff Paff down to the left-hander. Again we see a spot of tyre smoke there from Christian Pedersen's car up ahead of us. He loves flinging that little Austin 7 Special sideways. Miss Green certainly red hot in this one. Here comes Paul Lawrence back up the inside in number 43. The Race Kits Merlin goes through into Graceland. We don't very often see overtakes there. Depper back to the inside as they head down towards Tarzan. Is he going to get through on the inside? Indeed he is. On the brakes, retakes the place. They're closing a bit on Pedersen as well. I don't think anybody's going to catch Gregan Thruston in the Rawson Climax here. He's well out in front on his last lap now. Here he comes into Tarzan, the former 750 Formula competing car, up towards the Brook S's for the last time. It's going to be a flag-to-flag win for the rather stumpy little machine of Gregan Thruston. His son Lyndon fighting away further down the order. Here they come then up towards the checkered flag. A win for Gregan Thruston in the 750 trophy. Well clear of his opposition. Looking to see who's going to come home in second place. It's the 52 car, I think that is, of Andy Schultz coming over in second in the Jomo 750. Pedersen will take third, and fourth place will go to Martin Depper. So good stuff there from the 750 Motor Club 750 Trophy Series. The win going to Gregan Thruston by nearly 10 seconds ahead of Michael Harvey in second place. Christian Pedersen in third. Andy Schultz and knuckles down in 10th place. My mistake there. Harvey second, Pedersen third, Depper fourth, and Paul Lawrence dropping out in the closing stages, leaving Nigel Howard to complete the top five ahead of Lyndon Thruston and Helen Gilfillan. Ian Grant in wild in the Austin 7 class.
I'm Tania Mann, and this year I'm racing in the Porsche Carrera Cup Great Britain Series. I'm also a member of the British Women's Racing Drivers Club. Today I'm at Brands Hatch with my coach Tim Harvey, and we're doing some final setup checks and testing for the race weekend. My history in motor racing was in a Lotus Elise, and I raced in a couple of series last year. This year I'm the first female to do a full series in the Porsche Carrera Cup. I decided to enter in the Porsche Carrera Cup because I have a love for Porsche cars, and this series is actually my dream series to race in. Tim actually had a session in a car with me one day, and he recommended that I look into racing in this series, so that's why I'm here today. Today's a track day, and the reason we're here is so that I can have my coach Tim Harvey actually sit in the car with me. I'm still quite new to driving and racing, and this enables me to have him help me with my driving of the car and also learning the lines of the circuits. My goal for this year is to learn as much as I can from the people around me, whether it's the competitors and my coach, and to basically improve every time I get out in the car.
I released my debut album, April Showers May Flowers, this year in February, and we've been touring nationwide with that. For me, racing driving was always in the forefront of my mind from really young, I used to love karting, but never met the right people to take it any further. And then music took its place and going to university, and it was just something that one day I'd love to be racing. Now, motorsports, I'm meeting the right people through music, that I'm actually getting the chance. I was at Formula One Grand Prix this year at Silverstone, I've been to Alton Park and Brands Hatch, and now I'm here at Snetterton. I'd actually recorded a video for one of my tracks, Tokyo Sunset, at Alton Park in a Formula 3 car. Formula 3 has always been my dream. That's what I'm aiming for. Coming off of that, we got a call from Ron Dennis to say he'd like me to play at his birthday party. He introduced me as the Lewis Hamilton of the jazz scene, which is really cool as well. And then from there, just being able to meet more and more people in motorsports. I've been watching Wendy Mortimer here today with Advent Motorsport, and it's just really, really exciting. It's all coming to life. I can do the motorsports, and when I'm not touring, I can be there, and when not, I'm making music, so I'm enjoying both. And I know that there are amazing women drivers out there as well, and I've been fortunate to meet them, so maybe they just need to get to the forefront a bit more. So if I can help with that, that would be wonderful. Thank you. I am having the best day, even though we're rained out. I'm having the best day. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, well done. Thank you very much.
Bangers are sort of like normal MOT failures, sort of like people think that we do just take them straight off the street, but we don't. Sort of like we put our own race engines in them, we put our own tyres on them. There's a lot of work that goes in them, all the safety sort of side of it, roll cages and that, but they are basically a run-of-the-mill road car that you're only allowed to weld the driver's door, corner plates to hold the bonnet on. Everything else has to be range standard. But the work that we do on them is so they can take a big crash and carry on going. You have to remove everything that can either catch a light. We have to run the fuel tank inside with us, all the electrical side of it. There's cut-off keys to cut the electrics if there's a problem with the driver. We run our own sort of like tyres. There's a limit on what the sort of tyre softness must be, but we run tyres at the best so we can get the best grip out of the car for cornering, because it's all right going down the straight quickly, but we've all got to go around the corner. And the person behind, he won't want you to go around the corner. He will want to put you through the wires or through the wall. So you've got to try and get around that corner the best way you possibly can so you don't end up through the wall. I've been doing it since '76, and if you could see me try and get out of a bed of a morning or move about trying to sort of like bend over that, you would see the injuries that I've suffered. But it's only sort of like breaks and injuries you do to your neck and your chest. But banger drives and that, just get on with it. You just do it. It's part and parcel of the formula. That you might break a few fingers, a rib here and there.
Shane, you're the world champion, aren't you?
Yeah, won that back in October. It's unlimited bangers we was doing that night. And it's the second time I've won it. Yeah, so it's a good honour to have.
And that's why you've got the gold roof on this beautiful pink Ford Mondeo behind us.
Yeah, you get a gold roof for the year. You have to start at the back of the grid, which makes it a little bit harder throughout the year, but it's always nice to have the gold roof on.
So you start at the back of the grid. Does that mean that you have to get past everybody to win a race?
Yeah, in our formula, like the novices start at the front, and the more experienced you are, you start further back the grid just to make a better race of things.
So how do you think you're going to do this evening?
Got a good few enemies tonight, so should be a marked man, so you never know, it just depends on if my luck's in or not.
Yeah, having the gold roof is like waving a big red flag saying come and get me, isn't it?
Yeah, to some people, but we've got our regular enemies who will be out looking for me, so hopefully I'll be able to get them first, but you just never know with banger racing.
So is this beautiful creation behind us with the gold roof and the pink bottom, is it going to survive this evening?
No, I don't think so.
Not everyone's going to finish tonight, are they?
No, not everyone finishes, so it is all about survival, but it's also about getting from the back to the front with smashing out as many cars as you can on the way. So there's like 10 to 15 laps you do in each race, and so whoever does them laps the quickest, but you can just smash people out your way on as you go. You've got to try to get round the corner with the person behind you trying to push you and spin you and batter you, so it's just about holding on tight and hopefully you get out the other end.
Well, the lure of seeing a world champion in action has brought a sizable crowd here to Wimbledon Stadium, where they are assured of plenty of entertainment, if nothing else. So the cars setting off behind the pace car before the action gets underway. There is Shane Davis at the back of the grid, as we heard. The gold roof making him somewhat distinctive as the field get themselves ready for the start. The pace car pulls in and the action is underway, and already the accidents are happening behind. There's about 5, 6, 7, 8 of them involved, including Shane Davis. Has a fairly big hit, and that doesn't look like it wants to go too much further without assistance. Car bumps to a halt. Hopefully that'll be restarted. Away he goes with some assistance from his fellow competitors as the action continues behind. Cars spinning around in every single direction. Plenty of entertainment. Slightly lurid angle there. He's going to go around and be punted by the pikey as Shane Davis continues to progress up through the order. By his standards, this is probably a fairly mild outing. Certainly doesn't seem to be too much for Mark Mann. Unlike several others, into the wall he goes, and that could quite possibly be race over. Davis fighting the wheel, and still just a little bit of bodywork damage rather than anything too serious. Well, the survivors continue to circulate as the casualty list mounts up here at Wimbledon. Gentle tap there, but no spin. As the race continues, very few cars left circulating, and the red flag, perhaps unsurprisingly, brings a halt to proceedings. The survivors will head back to paddock under their own steam, and arguably the real winners are the tow trucks as the drivers prepare for race 2.
Shane, looking at the back of your car, things don't look too good.
I've had a lot worse, but yeah, the first race didn't really go to plan. I got a puncture early on in the front driver's wheel. It just slowed me down a lot, and yeah, a few of the enemies got me in that one. I got a 9th in my first one, so it's got me in the final. I've not got to go in the consolation. The top 12 qualify, so it's not as good as I'd like, but it'll do.
Well, Formula One style repairs then being effected in the paddock between races to make sure that the cars are ready for the second race, some of whom requiring quite a lot more restorative surgery than others. But hopefully we will have something approximating a full field taking to the track for the second race. Unfortunately, car 130 unlikely to be one of them. Some of the competitors needing a little bit of assistance to get out on track. Team Black then, the avowed enemies of Shane Davis, on track en masse. Well, Davis hampered by rubber issues in race 1, as we heard. See what he can do this time around, of course, starting from the back of the grid as the pace cars lead them around. There's Davis. Car looks to be absolutely in fine fettle despite its battle scarring from race 1, if you ignore the rear of the car, that is. Safety cars about to peel in. Already the contact begins before the race is underway, perhaps unsurprisingly. Davis, not only has he got to try and pick his way up through the field, he's also got to avoid the attentions as Team Black, as Mr. Slick 50 visits the barriers, about to be joined by several others, I would venture. As the race progresses, unsurprisingly, the casualty race increasing, cars spinning all over the place. For the moment, though, Shane Davis able to work his way up through the order, staying out of trouble as much as is possible in banger racing. But he then got caught by Team Black, skewered on the tyres, and that looks like race over for Shane Davis. There's no way the car's going to recover from there with just one wheel down on terra firma. Race over, the car now requiring significantly more surgery to get it out for the final. On to the back of the flatbed. Chains attached, bit of pressure applied, and the Mondeo looking almost as good as fifth hand, ready for the grand final. Work done. Davis starting up the car as he heads to the circuit for the grand final. The pace cars lead them round, and the action unsurprisingly underway with the casualty rate much increased from the qualifying races. Davis, though, doing what he does best, which was just working up through the order and trying to avoid the attentions of Team Black. As the field depleted, Team Black's numbers seem to increase. An ever-present shadow for Davis, with the perhaps predictable consequences. Davis tipped into a spin as a result of tag teaming and then picking up the contact from other team members. Some big impacts, giving significant damage to the car. Well, for some people that might be night over, but with the demolition derby to come, new suspension applied, and out he went when the car could be properly destroyed this time around. Tipped into a spin, attempting to recover once more onto the scene. Hello to Team Black, and unfortunately goodbye to the Ford Mondeo, forced into retirement, having been shortened by about 1.5 metres.
Yeah, the evening's gone pretty well, sort of like, you know, he's still in one piece. The car, as you can see, is quite badly smashed up. They've come out on top tonight, but there's other meetings and we will turn it around. We'll come back the next time and we'll sort of like sort them out. So they're in their glory bit at this present time, but time will tell and we will pay them back big time.
Yeah, the mechanics done well to get it back out for me. I was out in my stock car and they worked hard on it, go back out, and it went well and took quite a few more hits. It's proper dead now though. Yeah, they brought more drives than us, so they was always going to come out on top tonight, but we took a few with us, so it's good. All the drivers enjoy getting smashed up, so it's good fun.
I am Becky Beth Cox. I'm racing at Brands Hatch today, and I am a member of the British Women Racing Drivers Club. Today I'm racing in the MSV Track Day Trophy at Brands Hatch. I am driving a Peugeot 106 in the Track Day Trophy series. A few years ago I raced in the Uni Royal Championship. That was just a one-off race, and then I went to continue to race in the Castle Combe Saloon Championship. Then last year I did some racing in the Tin Top series. Yeah, I just love racing. We all work together, it's a great atmosphere. I just love being in the racing seat and knowing that nothing else matters, and just to be out there with all the cars or going into the corner at the same time. It's quite an adrenaline rush. I used to run my own car and I just found it too much running your own car and driving it, so that's why I've got a team on board now, which works out a lot better. I'm a mum of 2 children. I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old. My eldest is 5 and she's already started doing some go-karting and is keen to get into the motorsport as well. Today I'm racing in a 2-driver race with our team, Ladybird Racing. Qualifying went well, maybe not quite as well as we'd hoped, but basically it was our first time out this year. We haven't done any testing, haven't driven that particular car since 2010, so it was his first outing today. I'd like to be racing in the Clio Cup series and then moving on to British Touring Car, but due to funds, I'm racing at club level, so obviously it's a very expensive sport. The main aim for us is to be competitive as we can, but also whilst having great fun at the same time, which is what it's all about.
Are you ready?
Hello there and a very warm welcome to Donington Park for coverage of the 750 Motor Club's Championship Finals Day, taking place on the full 2.5 mile Grand Prix circuit. The likes of Paul Smith, Matt Rosier, Robin Gearing, Patrick Fletcher and Ian Alley have already secured their crowns, but in this final meeting of the season we will see 7 more titles decided. Sports cars and saloons, MX-5s and M3s all feature in the 12 races that we have coming up for you today. So we start with the Protec Shocks Sport Specials Championship, classes A and B already decided in favour of David Roberts and Martin Buckland, but Class C and the overall title still up for grabs. Rob Johnston starts 5th, he needs to finish 2nd or better. Lights out and away we go. A good start by the 2 Eclipses from the front row of the grid, but there you can see the orange car of Rob Johnston just moving to the right of shot now, trying to go around the outside of Clive Hudson and up into 2nd position behind Paul Boyd as they go into Redgate Corner for the first time in this 15-minute plus 1 lap race. But it looks like there's a mistake there from Johnston as they go through Hollywood, and he's lost quite a few places. Yes, he's down to about 6th or 7th place, I think, and that could be absolutely crucial because they're in 3rd position in his MK Indy is Matthew Booth, and he's the man that will win the championship unless Johnston can fight his way back through to finish in one of the top 2 positions. And before there, Anton Landon, he was the Class A Championship winner for last season. He switched to Class C for this year. Here come the leaders then, down into the Melbourne hairpin, and it's Paul Boyd leading, Clive Hudson 2nd, Matthew Booth in 3rd position. A bit of a gap back then to the rest of the field. You can see the circuit still damp. We had a lot of rain here yesterday and drama further back. That involves the number 77 car, which is Stuart Much in his MEV, and also getting caught up in that is Paul Cooper, number 32, the driver of the Raw Striker. Both get going again. 3 for the lead, and it's Paul Boyd going down the inside of Clive Hudson into the hairpin this time, but he's outbraked himself, I think, gets onto the wet part of the circuit, the back steps out, and he loses 2 places because of that. Through on the inside goes Clive Hudson, Matthew Booth follows him as well. Up now to Goddard hairpin, the left-hander, and this time it's Clive Hudson's turn to overcook it, and Paul Boyd as well, and now Booth takes the lead of the race. Can Booth go out in style, winning the championship with victory in the final round? Oh, another drama there for Paul Cooper. Now is it going to be terminal this time because he's well and truly stuck in the gravel, but great work by the marshals, get him released back onto the circuit again. Well, Booth has dropped back now. It's the 2 Eclipses battling over the lead once more, and now it's Boyd that goes back through, but Hudson carries more speed out of the Fogarty S's, gets alongside the fellow Eclipse driver Paul Boyd. He's on the inside line for the Melbourne hairpin. Can he get that move done? He slides a little bit on the exit of the corner. Boyd gets back through on the inside. This is brilliant racing between these 2 drivers who've been racing against each other for several years now in these cars. Boyd going back through on the inside at Goddard. Boyd trying to go all the way around the outside. It's Hudson then that just about hangs on as they're coming up to lap some traffic going into this final lap of the race. It looks like the 27 car of David Roberts in the Sienna is about to be lapped, but it's between Hudson and Boyd for the race victory, with Johnston not really having got where he needed to be up into the top 2 positions. It looks like Matthew Booth is going to be the champion this year, and very well deserved it will be too, after 3 race victories and 4 other podium finishes. Clive Hudson, he's had 2 wins this season. Paul Boyd has had just the 1. Can he add to that in the final half a lap that we have here at Donington Park? on this 2.5 mile Grand Prix layout. Up through Maclean's they go, and then climbing up to the highest point of the circuit at Coppice Corner. Boyd not as close as he's been in previous laps, I don't think, but still that's only a couple of car lengths back through the second apex of Coppice, now down the exhibition straight to where there's one or two overtaking opportunities. At the end of this straight they've got the left-right flick at the Fogarty S's, and it's Hudson that prevails at the moment. Then they've got this braking area for the Melbourne hairpin, but Hudson now has about 3 or 4 car lengths as they head down towards the braking area for the final time. Is Boyd going to unleash a last lap move? He closes right up under braking, possibly hoping that Hudson there makes a mistake and finds it slippery on the exit of the corner, but it has dried out a little bit as this race has gone on, I think. Up they go then to Goddard's, the final corner of the race. Boyd getting ever closer. That back marker I think is just about going to keep out of the way, and Hudson goes through to take the win, and he wins the 13th and final race of the season in the Protec Shock Sport Specials Championship, but only by 0.3 of a second from Paul Boyd. It's an Eclipse 1-2, and there in the background is the champion. Matthew Booth comes through to take 3rd position, and that is enough to wrap up the title, because Rob Johnson in his orange Sienna could only get back to 4th, so he finishes 2nd in the championship despite having had 3 race wins this year. Confirmation of the results then. 35/100ths between Clive Hudson and Paul Boyd, but Boyd got the fastest lap of 1:44.17, which was also a lap record. Booth there in 3rd, Johnston 4th, another good drive from Stewart. Adam in the ARD, he got home in 5th position. Looking a little bit further back down the order, we can see that it was Stewart, much recovering from that first lap spin, in 11th, but just ahead of him in 9th and 10th position, the top 2 drivers in Class B, Martin Buckland and the returning champion, Colin Benham.
So down here in the pit lane then with our top 3 after that race, and the man who came through after a storming fight out in front there was of course Clive Hudson. A really great job, Clive. A great way to end the season as well.
Yeah, it was a really good race that. I really enjoyed it. You know, Paul's somehow braver on the brakes even in these sort of dry line conditions. And gets up to me then, but somehow I always get the faster exit, so worked out in the end.
There was many places I was trying to get through. I'm sure you were aware of that from probably halfway through the race.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, I knew he'd be there, so it's a case of being defensive and, getting him back where he got me. It was great, really enjoyed it.
A really good race to watch, well done Clive, and good luck for next season, whatever you choose to do. Let's have a quick chat as well with Paul Boyd, who came home in 2nd place. Paul, you tried your absolute best there, didn't you?
I did, that was great fun. What a great race, but it's slippy out there, so you've got to be careful.
I can imagine, I can see it's still not quite as dry in line, but it's wet offline, and that's what you need to be really to make the moves.
It is, yeah, and I made a few mistakes on the wet there, so hence Clive coming back past me.
Well, no arithmetic to worry about in this race because the Tagiwa M3 Cup is a series rather than a championship, so no points on offer, but there should be some good racing in prospect in this 18-minute plus 1 lap encounter. For the final time this season, the red lights go out and away we go. And the cars head down towards Redgate Corner for the first time. It's a good start by Martin James there from the outside of the front row of the grid, but I think Adam Shepherd just sitting tight there, and he will get the lead into the first corner. Carl Shield it is slotting into 3rd position as they make their way through Hollywood now for the first time, and then down the Craner curves. This circuit, I think, drying out all of the time. There's some sunshine on it, that's helping, but it is a bit damp offline as you can see. But it's Shepherd from Shield, Carl Shield up to 2nd place then as they make their way around the old hairpin for the first time. There is the number 44 car, that's being driven by Brett Evans in this race. Up to Maclean's they go for the first time then. It looks like everyone has got away pretty well. 1 or 2 cars missing from the grid, I'm afraid to say. But nevertheless, we still do have, I think, 13 cars having taken the start of this race. That is the number 11 car for Nick Williamson, his first time out in the Tagiwa M3 Cup here at Donington Park. In the lead of the race, it's Adam Shepherd already starting to get away then from Carl Shield in 2nd position. And the rest of them following through as they head through the Fogarty S's and now down towards the Melbourne hairpin for the first time in this race. Let's just see if they can get through safely. Noticeably drier now this circuit than it was earlier on. Some side-by-side action, and think involving Luke Sajikowski there for about 3rd position. And that's the yellow car of John Brown making up places on the way into Goddard Hairpin that time. John Brown in car number 7, the driver from Glasgow, having a good wheel-to-wheel dice there. He is in about 6th position at the moment, just doing battle there with the number 45 car, which is Gary Hufford, a former Mazda MX-5 racer. That's Tim Gray, having a little bit of a moment on the curbs there at Redgate Corner, on the way out of Redgate Corner. So the top 2 here getting away a little bit from Martin James and Luke Sejikowski. Then it's Hufford in 5th, John Brown in 6th position. Oh, and some dramas further back, and that looks like, yes it is, the number 15 car of Jamie Ingram. He's had a spin coming out of the old hairpin. Through Coppice goes this battle for, well, what is now becoming 4th, 5th and 6th positions, because Sejikowski has gone through and Martin James now falling back into the clutches of the 2 behind him, Hufford and Brown. So these 2 having a good dice. Martin James has been out in a number of different cars this season. We've seen him win a race in Sport Specials. He's been doing the Tiguan Civics as well, as he is this weekend. So James keeping himself very busy with these multiple races at the 750 Motor Club events this season. Tiguan M3 Cup for these 3.2 litre BMW M3s. A new concept for the 750 Motor Club this season, combining GTS performance and the premium nature of the car with quite tightly controlled regulations. So it's a relatively cost-effective way of going racing, and very close racing it is too. Look at this, it's pretty much side by side, almost 3 abreast as they go into Redgate Corner this time. Martin James with his nose in front of Gary Hufford as they come out of the corner. Hufford runs wide a little bit over the curb there. That leaves the door open for John Brown. Now is John Brown brave enough to capitalise on that as they go down through the Craner curves? No, he's not. He looks back in behind Gary Hufford now. Hufford also trying to get the place away from Martin James as well. That's 4th position. All of this outside the podium positions, but absolutely excellent racing between these 3. So James having made his escape somewhat now. It's between Hufford and John Brown then as they go down into Redgate Corner. Brown on the inside line, headlamps ablaze. He means business, doesn't he? He's trying to go through. Running wide there is Hufford, all over the dirt, and as he rejoins the circuit he spins, I'm afraid, and Hufford all of a sudden, well, he's going to lose places here, I think, isn't he, because that looks like it's Brett Evans that's going through. Last lap board has been and gone. Adam Shepherd already heading towards the checkered flag, and he wins again. That's an 8th victory of the season for Adam Shepherd in the Tiguan M3 Cup. Let's have a look at those results now. Shepherd winning the race by 5.5 seconds from Carl Shield. He also set the fastest lap as well. A 1 minute 45.22 seconds is also a lap record. So Shield in 2nd, Luke Sejikowski, another podium, has often been found there this season. Martin James 4th, John Brown 5th, and Brett Evans moving up into 6th position after that misdemeanour from Gary Hufford towards the end of the race. Time now for the penultimate race this season for the Nankang MX5 Cup by 5 Club Racing. It's round number 19, and there's still 4 drivers in with a very realistic shout of taking the championship. Just 22 points separating the first 4, with 100 points available for a win in each race. Red lights go on then for the penultimate time this season. The revs rise, the lights go out, and away we go. And the best start is made by Will Blackwell Chambers from the outside of the front row of the grid. He slots ahead of Ben Short. This grid determined by free practice times from yesterday after the qualifying session was cancelled due to rain. Through Redgate they go for the first time, a full 42 car grid here, an absolutely magnificent sight these 1.6 litre Japanese roadsters make as they head through Hollywood and the Craner curves for the first time. We go on board with number 7, Harry Dean, who started this race in 15th position, so in the top half of the field. And he's well and truly stuck in the midst of the action there. Down through the old hairpin they go. And then it will be the climb through the left-hander at Schwantz Curve up towards the right-hander at McLean's. That's the number 33 car, Paul Reed, starting at the back of the grid. He had to qualify out of session this morning. Through McLean's they go then. So far, I think it's so good for everybody. Everyone looks to have made it safely around the first half a lap or so. Back on board we go with Harry Dean. Oh, maybe I spoke too soon because he's off into the gravel trap on the exit of Coppice Corner. He manages to plough his way through there. He wasn't the only one to make that mistake by the looks of it. There was another one off in the background as well. Meanwhile, up front it's Ben Short now that has the lead of the race. And there's 2 blue cars right behind him, very similar livery, because the 43 car is Will Blackwell Chambers, but driving the 58 car is Mike Comber. Both of his team's cars, he runs MCR, Mike Comber Racing, but those cars hired out this weekend, and so he's having a go in this spare car for Will Blackwell Chambers. A bit of sideways action and biffing the barriers there, I'm afraid, is the number 34 driver, Matt Tasker, the man from Alfreton. Having a moment there for Greatrex. He spins, there's contact, Tatler's involved. So too is number 42, Sam Smith, one of 2 Sam Smiths in this race. He's gone into the barriers, and drivers there had to scatter. Sam Smith, number 31, one of the 4 championship contenders, is getting on the grass even now. And I tell you what, he's got work to do, because he started on 20th position on the grid. He's trying to scythe his way through the field, but he's left himself with a lot of work to do here at Donington this weekend. His namesake out of the car, very frustrated at getting caught up in that incident, and his race looks to be over. Well, this is another look at it really. So it was Jack Sycamore there going from the inside, possibly just tagging number 44, which is Jason Greatrex. He spun around and his cars moved either side to avoid. There was contact. The number 18 car making it safely through was Jonathan Clements. Well, it's Will Blackwell Chambers that's now asserting his authority on this race. Ben Short, Jack Sycamore and Mike Comber, who's done as much winning as anybody, or more winning than anybody so far this season, with 5 race victories. Well, the same as Will Blackwell Chambers. He's there in 4th position, but he only joined the championship late, about halfway through the season. Had he done the full year, I'm sure that Mike Comber would have been one of the 5 championship contenders coming into this weekend, as it would have been if he'd been part of it. But just 4, and 3 of them are in the first 3 places at the moment, but it's looking good here for Will Blackwell Chambers. The thing that Will has got to be careful to do is make sure he gets home, because if he has a non-finish, he'll have to count that, because drivers dropped their 2 worst scores at the end of the season. He's already had 2 zeros. We're looking at the action a little bit further back down the order at the moment. That is the pink car, the bright pink car of Sam Smith coming through the field. I think there he's passing the car of Jake Bailey, number 14, who only managed to get into the race when there was a late dropout from Brian Chandler, and so Bailey, as one of the reserves, was able to get into the race. And he's having a look back at Sam Smith now. The driver from Norfolk loses out there to the number 14, Jake Bailey, the teenager from Stratford upon Avon. It's Sam Tatler who's having a very good season here, that's at the head of this group of cars at the moment. That's the car of 81, I think. Is it Sebastian Fisher behind him? No, it's not there. Seb Fisher a little bit further back. I think actually it was the Clements car just behind him. He's got Leach going through in his familiar number 13 machine. Adam Bessel a bit further down the order than we normally see him as well. Big gaggles of cars all the way down the field. There's Harry Dean. He dropped back after that off at Coppice much earlier on in this race, and is trying to recover somewhat from that error. And this next group of cars has some side-by-side motoring and some sideways motoring in it as well. And 1 or 2 cars going off there, including, going for a spin, is number 130, Tim Hutchinson. So Tim Hutchinson, well, just about gets back onto the circuit. Here's this battle then. Sam Tatler has now lost out to the 18 car, Jonathan Clements. But Sam Tatler actually 4th on gross points before drop scores are taken into account coming into this weekend. He's had a pretty consistent season. He's finished every race he's taken part in so far. He'll be very pleased with how it's gone, I'm sure. Jake Bailey there, just behind him in number 40. Then you've got Sam Smith, Roger Chesno, who, let's not forget, was on the podium in the opening meeting of the season at Alton Park as well. Up to the left-handed hairpin at Goddard's they go. And back on to the Wheatcroft Straight, the start and finish straight here at Donington Park. Past the grandstand, over the finish line. Start another lap. So this is the battle that's going on outside the top 4, who are much further up the road. Oh, and a spinner broadside on the circuit on the exit of Goddard's is not where you want to be if you're Stephen Craggs. He's got going again now, though. Fortunately, everybody managed to avoid him. Being broadside anywhere is not where you want to be, but particularly on a blind hairpin. Seen already what can happen on the exit of that corner at the end of the first lap of the race. So Craggs continues, having had that moment, and he now outside the top 20. And Bessel going through in the bright blue car that you could see there. Courtney Milnes as well in treble 7. This battle going on between car 185, which is Gary Townsend, and the spin there, the 60 car involved, by the way, was Mark Willis, but 86 it is that spins around. That's Daniel Stewart. He's had some stronger meetings in the earlier part of the season. Still that battle going on then, involving that number 60 car. There's somebody slow up the hill, didn't quite catch who that was. Meanwhile, Will Blackwell Chambers still leading. A spin as well for number 13, which is Scott Leach, the man from Bedworth in Warwickshire. Oh, and Sam Tatler locking up there as he does battle with the 31 car of Sam Smith, who's clawing his way up the order, but I think he's probably ruling himself out of championship contention. I think that car that was going slowly was the number 18 car of Jonathan Clements, and now is looking for direction from the marshals as to where to put himself. Short and Sycamore side by side down towards the old hairpin now, with Mike Comber right in behind them as well, almost pushing Jack Sycamore, number 91, the driver from Milton Keynes, along there. Blackwell Chambers, you can see a few seconds up the road now, these three slowing one another up as they battle, but it's last year's champion Ben Short that is ahead. Last year's runner-up, Blackwell Chambers it is, that leads the race. Jack Sycamore, 4th in last year's championship, involved in this scrap as well. He's lost out now to Comber as they go through Coppice and back down the exhibition straight towards the Fogarty S's. So are we going to see a move going into the right and left-hander at the end of the straight? It's Short there with the number 1 on his car, the BS Motorsport run machine in second position, as there we see number 9, which is Ian Tomlinson, but we also see that it's spinning number 40 car of Ben Hansey, the company director from Northampton. I don't think he'll have lost too many places. There was a bit of a gap there. This is the onboard view from Ben Hansey. It goes round as a full 360, so at least he's pointing in the right direction. He loses, I think, about 3 places. Still, you've got Mike Comber in the middle of this sandwich, 2nd and 4th, the 2 white cars. It's the AB Motorsport car of Jack Sycamore at the rear of that group, and there's some contact and there's some rubbing, and off into the gravel goes Ben Short. Short through the gravel now. Where's Comber gone? Well, he's continuing, but he's dropped back behind Jack Sycamore, but Ben Short now has some rally crossing to do to get back onto the circuit. He's trying to make his way back onto the track, but you can see how big the gap was behind him. I think he's still going to come onto the track probably in about 4th position. No, he's going to fall just into the group behind, I think. There's Sycamore then, and there is Mike Comber. So this is now the well, I say fight for second and third, but there's actually quite a few car lengths between them. Blackwell Chambers it is that still leads the way. Now, will we see the next group of cars, and where is Ben Short in all of this? Well, he's not near the front, that's for certain, because you've got Jake Bailey and Sam Smith absolutely side by side for fourth position. And it's Smith that goes through on the inside. Sam Tatler goes extremely wide. And there at the rear of the group, the white number 1 car, Ben Short. So he is at the back of that group, about 7 cars ahead of him then. Last lap gets underway, so Short's got some work to do to try and find his way back towards the stop. Oh, and pulling off is Jack Sycamore from third position. Conrad got back through, but a problem, it looks like a suspension failure that puts Jack Sycamore out of the race, and that may well be the end of his championship hopes. Here's this fight going on. This now is for third position, and it's Jake Bailey that is in the ascendancy at the moment, but Sam Smith tries to get back alongside him now, but Bailey holds on. A great drive this from the teenager. Sam Smith a little bit more experienced in Mazda MX-5 racing, although it's his first full season in the Nankang MX-5 Cup by 5 Club Racing. 5th position is Seb Fisher, and 6th place at the moment is Roger Chesno in the 105 car. But I don't think this race is over yet. Through Schwantz Curve now, up to McLean's they come. Smith, he wants to get as high up the order as he possibly can to just stay in contention for the championship going into the final round, although that's looking ever more unlikely now. He's lost out there though to Jake Bailey, was close to losing out to Seb Fisher and Roger Chesno as well. Through Coppice and onto the exhibition straight for the final time. Jake Bailey may well have done enough here, I reckon, but they're ganging up on Sam Smith. It's Sebastian Fisher trying to get alongside him for 5th position, and look who's just behind Chesno. It's that man Ben Short as well on the fight back. He gets alongside Chesno now, so that would be for about 6th positions, I think, as up to the line comes Will Blackwell Chambers to take the checkered flag. It's his 6th victory of the season, and how important could that be in the context of this championship? Who's going to be third though? I think it's going to be Jake Bailey. It's tied for 4th. Sam Smith third at the moment, and look, Ben Short's made his way up into 5th position. Is it going to stay that way? I think it will. Seb Fisher through on the inside there of Chesno. Up to the line they come, and Bailey gets third. A great drive from him. His maiden podium in the MX-5 Cup. Well, what a race that was, and a great drive from Will Blackwell Chambers, doing what he needed to do, taking a comfortable win in the end by 8 seconds. Mike Comber second, Jake Bailey third, Sam Smith fourth, and Ben Short after that off, getting back up into the top 5 ahead of Sebastian Fisher. Well, outside the top 10, the 11th place car was Matthew Short ahead of Courtney Milnes. Then it was Ali Bray racing, rather than team managing this time, in 13th position. Ben Hansen recovered from his spin to 14th position.
Will, you've done first part of the job, you needed to win, and that's what you've exactly done.
Yeah, amazing race. Car's absolutely brilliant. Thanks to Mike Comber Racing for giving us a hand with it. No, it was an immense race. Didn't expect that. Brilliant racing for the first lap between me and Ben. Really, really clean, really, really tidy, and then yeah, just managed to stretch the gap a bit.
Yeah, apart from the first couple of laps, you got your head down and pulled out that nice gap.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time looking in the mirrors and gauging how much. I think I'm a bit slow through the hairpins, but I think over a lap I've got it. I managed to forget the card in my data logger, so I had no idea actually what lap times I was doing, which made it quite difficult. But no, happy with that. Really happy with that result.
I have to say, there was lots going on behind which you stayed out of, but as I said, you need to kind of keep yourself out front, because to do the championship, you need to win pretty much both races.
With the points we've got, I don't actually need to win, I don't believe. We've got a little bit of a buffer. The most important thing, and you've seen the Demolition Derby that's going on there, is keeping out of that. So we'll see how the next race goes, but I just want to keep clean.
Great stuff. Well done, Will. Good luck for race number 2 as well. Let's have a chat with our second place man, which is Mike Comber. Mike, if you would like to make your way over to us and we'll have a chat with you. Really frantic race, to be fair. What happened from your point of view?
Yeah, it's a good race. I was sort of just sitting there and watching most of it, just waiting for the mistakes, and Jack made the first one, which sort of handed me third place, and then Ben was just, I think he was just lacking a bit of speed and trying to cover his second place, and I think both me and Jack were stronger drivers. Went for a bit of a move just coming onto the Dunlop straight, and just had a bit of a coming together. Until I see the footage, I don't know what went on. It happened so quick. But yeah, unfortunately, I sort of managed to sort of hold in there, but lose out to Jack, and don't know what happened to Jack in the end. But yeah, it was a good fun race up until that point. I enjoyed it. Try and keep it as clean as you try to, but yeah, it's one of them, unfortunately.
You're a youngster. We've been told you're 16 years old. 16. On the podium. Well done.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it wasn't easy, but enjoyed it. Yeah, loved it.
Had to work hard, I have to say, because you had everyone trying to gang up on you.
Yeah, it was good. Thanks to Pete at the Motorsport School. He's been coaching me all the way through the year, and he's been really influential on my results.
And Donington Park is not the easiest of circuits. Lots going on out there.
No, but it's my favourite, so good on to win at third. Sorry.
Time now for the first race of the day in the Radical Owners Club Bike Sports Championship. Now this one really wide open as far as the title is concerned. Several drivers stand a mathematical chance, but it's Phil Knibb in the ascendancy at the moment. He leads by 12 points. 18 minutes plus 1 lap is the race distance. The lights go out and away we go, and a lot of work to be done by Will Brown from the back of the grid, because he got just 1 lap in during practice. He's already made up about 2 or 3 places on the way up to the first corner though in his Radical PR6, so that's the 0 car, the black car. Watch out for that one, burning from the stern. Leaders though making their way down towards the old hairpin, and it is Phil Knibb from pole position that leads the way from John Paul Ivy in second place. First time we've seen John Paul Ivy during the course of this season, although he's won many bike sports races in the past. And third at the moment is Richard Webb, who made his debut in RGB earlier in the season, but switching over to bike sports this weekend in the ex-Mark Conroy car. There you can see the 0 car of Will Brown going through, having made up a couple more positions now. Some body work there, seemed to go flying, I think it was. Maybe there was some contact between a couple of cars. Didn't quite see who that belonged to as the number 7 Julian Griffiths Radical PR6 goes through. Just trying to work this out. No, that looks like a piece of bodywork. It may just have flown off the number 85 car actually, which is Joe Stables. Joe, one of the championship contenders, missed the last meeting though, and therefore has a lot of work to do. As a change there for second place, we also had a change of lead. John Paul Ivy has got through, and now Phil Knibb has dropped down to third position behind Richard Webb. That's the Charles Adrian car, number 21. Looks like he's hit some problems. He's going to pull off at the Goddard hairpin. Charles, a long-time racer with the 750 Motor Club, previously raced in Formula 4. That's the 0 car of Will Brown as he continues his charge from the back of the grid. He's up there behind the similar car of number 50 Doug Carter. And Charles Adrian's got going again by the help, looks of it. Marshals have helped him to do so, but he goes straight into the pit lane. So number 21, Charles Adrian, who started on row 6 of the grid, I think he's going to be out of the race here. Just pulling into the pit lane. So there is Phil Knibb. Now, as I say, he's 12 points ahead in the championship coming into this weekend, but the drivers ahead of him aren't championship contenders, so this is not necessarily a disaster. The 2 behind him, the Gulf coloured car of Adrian Maynard, the champion from 2 years ago, is involved, and that's Jason Rishover that's spinning, a man that won at Snetterton back in June. Oh, and problems here for the number 20 car, Richard Webb. He's picked up some damage. I wonder if it was his car then that we saw something flying off earlier on, but now there's smoke pouring from that car. It looks like that is tyre smoke from bodywork fouling the tyre rather than anything else. That's not going to help him. He's running in second place at the moment. I mentioned that Adrian Maynard, a championship contender, so too the car behind him, number 88, Richard Wise, and he's also been a winner during the course of this season. That victory came at Anglesey for the leading Spire contender in the championship this season. The Spire winning the title, of course, last year in the hands of Tim Gray, who is having a season out from competing. So up towards Redgate Corner they go. Round the outside goes Richard Wise, and he takes the place away from Adrian Maynard, the very experienced Adrian Maynard. Lovely move that for the Spire to go ahead. As in the inset there you can see that Charles Adrian is back out of the pit lane again, so possibly he's managed to resolve whatever problem he had or thought he had. So Reynard now is the driver that's having to play catch-up to Richard Wise. Last lap of the race, and it's John Paul Ivy leading, but look who is in second place. It's been a wonderful drive this from Will Brown. He's picked them off one by one. There's been some drivers that have gone into retirement as well. We've lost Joe Stables, we've lost Richard Wise. We saw that spin for Jason Rishover, and Richard Webb has gone out of the race as well. But nevertheless, Will Brown has got within about a second of the race leader from the penultimate position on the grid. It's been a wonderful drive, this. These two Radical PR6s then with their central driving positions doing battle through the last couple of corners. I don't think Will Brown is quite going to do it, but it's not for the want of trying on his part. Up to Goddard for the last time. Then if John Paul Ivy makes a mistake, Brown might be able to snatch something, but John Paul Ivy, the man from the West Midlands, does not do that. He goes through to take the checkered flag, and he wins round 13 of the Radical Owners Club Bike Sports Championship. And this is Chris Preen coming through, and he is going to take 5th position, just behind Mike Davis, but only by 0.6 of a second. Adrian Reynard rounds out the top 6. Confirmation of that result then. A great drive from John Paul Ivy to take the win, an even better drive from Will Brown to take second place. John Paul Ivy got the fastest lap of the race, a 1:31.72, but outside Tim Gray's lap record. Philip, though, the championship leader, finishing ahead of most of his rivals in 3rd place. He extends his championship lead, actually. Mike Davis 4th, Chris Preen 5th, Adrian Reynard rounding out the top 6.
John, great to see you back in the Bike Sport Championship. What a way to come back.
Yeah, it's the first time I sat in the car for over a year, so I'm quite surprised about that. But after 4 laps, I had no brakes. I was having to pump the brakes all the way around. Some laps it would work, some laps I didn't think it was going to work. So I was like, please end this, let it end quick as possible. But no, really good result. I'd like to thank Tim Gray, who's put the car back together, Richard RLM, who's built me a pretty good engine by the look of it. So fantastic, thank you. You
had a nice lead at partway through that race, right towards the end though, probably the brakes going as you said, but then Will Brown was on your tail. Yeah, he was. I mean, I thought Will was going to catch me because of how early I was having to brake, because I'm just going to wave him past, but I saw the last lap board, I'm like, just don't foul me now, brakes, don't foul me now.
Join us again in a few moments' time for the Tagiwa Civic Cup. Two races to go in the 2016 Tagiwa Civic Cup, and the Class B Championship has already been resolved in favour of Carl Swift. But Class A is still to be decided. That's for the 1.6 litre cars. And coming into this weekend, just 4 points separating David Buki, Chris Kuma and Ben Sharp. Red lights go on and the race gets underway, and Ben Sharp it is on pole position. Doesn't make the best of starts. So it's Martin James from the outside of the front row. We've seen him out in the M3s already. He makes the best of the starts. Ben Sharp back to about 4th or 5th, I think, as they go through Redgate for the first time. But don't forget, there are 2 classes. Class A for the 1.6 litre cars, Class B for the more modern 2 litre cars, and points scored separately within each class. So it's where they finish relative to their classmates, if you like, that really matters. On board with number 5, Mark Hughes, who started well down the order on row 16 of this 30 plus car grid. That's the 20 car of Christian Line that's got it wrong through the old hairpin, drops back from that 4th row starting position, losing quite a few places, I should say. Martin James it is then that has the lead from Carl Swift, the man that clinched the championship at the last meeting. He is in 2nd place. There's Line on his recovery drive. These cars look absolutely fantastic. What could Mark Hughes do then in that car number 5? He's been a regular in the Civic Cup for a little while now. Good to just listen to these cars. Joe Locke, as you can see, right ahead of us in his orange car. Newcomer to the Civic Cup for this season, the man from Bebington. So James and Swift it is, the Ex-Stock Catch, an Autograss race that goes through. It looks like Danny Winstanley there in third position, and Ben Sharp in fourth, and crucially at the head of Class A. Chris Coomer, you just saw there, the number 55 car, the white car with the black roof. He's the third of the potential Class A champions, but he started back on row 5 for this race. Buki was on row 3, and Ben Sharp, the Northampton driver, as I say, was on pole position, but has dropped back down to 4th place now, and it might be 5th before too much longer. Indeed, it is 5th position, because I think that's Mark Rice, number 34, that has gone through, and there's Buki. So Buki pretty much right behind Ben Sharp now, and he will be a threat, make no mistake about that, before this race is much older. That's the 77 car, the sinister looking black machine of Dan Reason, and he's just ahead now of number 5 Mark Hughes. So you can see Mark has made up several places in the early stages of this race. There's Coomer just going through short now, just in behind the James Griffith number 27 car, one of the more modern cars, the red car with the yellow sign writing on it. And that looks like Mervyn Beckett going through there in the number 32 car. That's the ex-Andrew Gorgler machine. He's made the switch from Class A to Class B part way through the season. Ex-Classic Stock Hatch racer. So Martin James, number 90, it is that leads. Carl Swift, number 45, is in second place. And then by the looks of it, it's Danny Winstanley in third place. Gap opening up now between the top two. Carl Swift outbreaks himself, does he? He's gone very deep into the corner. Mark Rice, meanwhile, has made a bit more progress. He's now side by side for third position with Danny Winstanley. Winstanley having won lots of Civic races in the past. He's won races in TVRs as well, doing a lot in Caterham Sevens at the moment as well, in the CSCC Magnificent Sevens series. Here's Hughes, our onboard camera car, making his way around the Melbourne hairpin. So he's a little bit behind the leaders, probably around about 300 yards or so at the moment. He's climbing back up to the Goddard's left-hander. He goes. Oh, and who's that ahead of us? It's the number 3 car, which is Luca Diella. The driver from Seaford's had a moment, but has got back on circuit in front of us. Well, this is that battle for third position then. It's between Rice and Winstanley and Ben Sharp. It looks like Tom Bell now has made his way into 6th position. Tom Bell, who's been racing hot hatch during the course of this season. Look at this, side by side for, well, what is now second position, because Carl Swift has dropped back. So it's James leading, and now it's Mark Rice, number 34, that goes through into second position. Mark Rice, coming to the end of his first season of racing in the Takiwa Civic Cup, had a good first meeting at Alton Park in wet conditions. They suited his driving style, having come from Autograss. And now he's learning the circuits a bit more and going really well here at Donington Park this weekend. Up to second position now. He qualified on row 3 but didn't make the best of starts necessarily, so he's had to claw his way back up the order, and he's now ahead of the much more experienced Danny Winstanley. And Carl Swift in 4th, Ben Sharp 5th, and there's Tom Bell, the ex-Stock Hatch champion, in 6th position in that plain white, looking like it's rolled straight out of the production line and had some stickers put on it, number stickers put on the side. But there's Buki, who's not really catching the Class A leader, and there's Chris Coomer, number 55, and he's doing battle with Treble 2, which is Matthew Ellis. So he's embroiled in battles with Class B cars rather than focused on trying to catch his Class A rivals, which is what he really needs to do. If it stays like this, he'll concede the lead in Class A going into the final round of the season, which will take place later on this afternoon. But there is Treble 2, Matthew Ellis, the driver from Sevenoaks in Kent, just behind Chris Coomer, number 55 from Preston. He's won 4 times this season in Class A, Buki 3 times, and Ben Sharp 5. Ooh, was there even a little bit of contact there? There may just have been. It was very light and certainly not intentional. But it looks like that bumper may be deranged on the front of Chris Coomer's car, or it might be an optical illusion. Now, the other car involved in all of this, look for number 44, which is Mark Higginson, brother of the RGB champion Matt Higginson, who had a win in the early part of this season but has not done the majority of the rounds this year. That's the fight for second, third and fourth. Grice, Winstanley and Carl Swift making their way through the Craner curves once again. Winstanley, I wonder if he's got something up his sleeve in that SW Motorsport car that he's running in this weekend. Can he fight back to try and get back ahead of Mark Grice? There, though, is the race leader, number 90, Martin James, who's not done all of the races this season by any stretch of the imagination, but he has had a win last time out at Rockingham, and he's had 4 other podium finishes, so the races that he has done has been reasonably successful in. And now Winstanley has fallen to the back of the group. He's fallen behind Carl Swift, and Tom Bell you can see there in 5th position, and in 6th place is the yellow car of Ben Sharp, who is still leading Class A. One thing of note here as we look at the damage on the front of Luca Diella's car, not quite sure how that occurred. Maybe it was the off at Goddard's a few laps ago. Possibly he made contact with something, and one through the gravel there at McLean's is number 52, which is William Beach. Well, he's found the beach, hasn't he? Up there at McLean's. He started on row 13. Here is Martin James, though, with actually Mark Grice closing down on him now in the closing stages of this race. So we may yet have a challenge for the lead before the end of it. Oh, and someone out braking themselves. That's one of the Class A cars. Getting back on track. There's Mervyn Beckett having a good battle, and another driver which is in big problems there. That is number 53, which is Paul Bancroft, the man from High Peak, in one of the area motorsport run cars, one of the Rob Baker prepared machines. But Mervyn Beckett certainly having a good old scrap right in the middle of the field. Last lap board is out now, by the way. He's doing battle with that battle-scarred Luca Diella, number 3. As I think for position just outside the top 20. Someone's bumper has gone through Burton as well, and is now precariously in the middle of the circuit. Green flags waved by the marshals. Oh, there's probable owner of that bumper, by the way, just going past it. Oh, and problems. I did see some smoke a second ago. That's for number 20, Christian Line. He looked to have had an engine issue, possibly out of the race now. Into the final couple of corners they go, and it is, I think, going to be Martin James that goes through to take the checkered flag. Yes, he does, but not by very much in the end from Mark Grice. He takes second, and there is the... Oh, is this a problem? No, I don't think it is a problem for Ben Sharp. He wins Class A, but the reason that Ben Sharp was doing that was to make up a place on the reverse grid for race 2. Very canny driving from Ben Sharp, but Martin James it was that took the win. He got the fastest lap as well, a 1 minute 50.93, average of just over 80 miles an hour. Grice second, Swift third, Winstanley fourth. Class A winner, well, that was indeed Ben Sharp from David Buki, and Chris Coomer in 11th position, so he just misses out on that top 10 bubble, pipped at the post by Mark Higginson. David Vincent 12th, Tim Evans 13th, he's been a winner this season. John Peerless and Simon Weiss round out the top 15.
A great way to start the day with a win.
Oh, that was absolutely brilliant. Had a fantastic few races with Carl at the beginning, and that was really what I set out to do this weekend, was have a good race in the dry with Carl, and he drove absolutely fantastic. So much pressure, so fair. It was really good, really, really good.
He tried a move, it went a little bit wrong, didn't it?
Did he? Oh, right, okay. I didn't realise. But he caught up so quickly again. Unfortunately, my steering wheel folded in half halfway through the race. Wow. Yeah, not had that one before, so it's interesting.
Well, you took it in your stride and you pick up the win.
It's great. It's such a good win. Thank you.
Well done, Martin. Good luck for race number 2. Let's have a quick chat as well with Mark Grice as well. Mark, pop in here if you wouldn't mind. Second place, and I think you had to work for that one, didn't you?
Yeah, I certainly did. Danny Winstanley, I think it was, has come into this weekend, and he was always quick last year in the Civic Cup from me watching it. And so I knew it was going to be a challenge with a big grid, but yeah, over the moon. I think that's my best finish so far in the Civic Cup this year, my first year of doing it, so I'm almost secured second place. Just one more race to go.
Yeah, that's the thing you're looking for, is runners-up spot, isn't it?
It certainly is, yeah. I'm real good friends with Carl. We did autograss racing together, so to come into this, and he's helped me through this, so to get second would be for him as well. Like,
good stuff. Well done to you, Mark Grice, and third place, Carl Swift. Come here, Carl. Have a quick chat with us. You tried for it. You went for that lead, didn't you? But you made a slight mistake at Melbourne Hairpin.
Yeah, cracking race. I was struggling locking up into Melbourne Hairpin every time. I think it's a bit over braked on front. I'm trying to put some more rear in it, but what a race. Had a battle with first, second, third and fourth.
It's always eventful in Civic Cup. That's why we love it. Race 2 to come, last one of the season. What are you going to go for?
I'll go for a win. Everyone's going for the win.
Well, good luck, Carl. All the best.
Brilliant. Cheers.
Great round at Rockingham. Not a bad day here at Donington so far.
No, yeah, very good. Happy with pole this morning in the slippery conditions. In the wet, I knew I was going to get eaten by the 2 litre cars at the start, and I made a really poor start myself and made it hard work. And after that, I was just trying to manage the gap, because for the top 10 for the reverse grid, we wanted to make sure that my rivals who I've got to beat in the next race are not too far. So if I'm right, I think Chris is on pole, I think Buki's second, and I'm third and fourth. So it's going to be neck and neck, and whoever wins the next one wins the title. So.
Well, this is another closely fought championship. It's the Toyota MR2s, but only 2 drivers left in contention here, Jim Davis and Christian White. And it's Jim Davis that has an 11-point advantage coming into this weekend. He also had an advantage in qualifying. He's on pole position. White is back in 6th. So red lights are shortly to come on. There's the 5-second board. It's Shane Mansbridge alongside Jim Davis on the front row of the grid. A bit of a mix-up qualifying session, truncated as it was by a red flag. So there is White from the outside of row 3. He gets a pretty good initial getaway. Head off up towards Redgate Corner. The first time it's side by side ahead, and just struggling there to get the car into gear. Tim Heron goes flying through. I think he's done it now, but he tries to go back ahead of Heron around the outside. Well, that's something that Christian White definitely did not need at the beginning of this race. Oh dear, cars off there. Martin Fahy in the yellow, red and blue machine was one of them, and also one of the Nicholses. Possibly Mick Nichols has gone off and got caught up in that. Oh, and 2 in the barriers as well. The 53 car is that of Ray Couchman, 65 is Alan Cooper. So that is not what we wanted to see, with 2 cars off at Hollywood on the opening lap. That's created a bit of a gap partway through this big field of 36 cars we started with. We've lost another one now. That's number 47, Wayne Lewis, off into the gravel trap. Let's try and make some sense of what happened here. This is Simon Quinn, number 67. So he started on row 16. It all, I think, unfolded ahead of him. He tried to go around the outside of Maxine Nichols there. But what's going on up ahead? Oh, there's already one off. That was Farrelly, you could see on the left-hand side of the circuit. I think cars scattered in avoidance, really. And it was Couchman and Cooper that got spat out towards the left-hand side of the circuit. On board with Pete Seeley, he's in number 78. And he started on row 10 of the grid. There's Farrelly. Chris Thomas has also been off on the grass as well in car 84. This is, I think, Mick Nichols that we're on board with now. Oh, bang! Into the back of one of the Rogue Motorsport cars. So you can see he's sustained some front end damage, and Maxine, his daughter, in the black and pink car, has gone barrelling through. Now Tim Heron, so he had Christian White alongside him. There's White in the number 2 car, and that's where he was struggling to find a gear. So Heron got through into 5th position briefly, and White was trying to go around the outside. So those 2 cars off into the barriers there, both drivers out. I'm pleased to see that they're both okay. Marshall's rushing to the scene as well. Oh, bit of an arm around each other and a hug. I thought it was going to turn into something else then. On board with Martin Farrelly in car number 9. He didn't qualify as well as he normally does. Back on row 11 of the grid for the man from Fleet in Hampshire, an IT Services sales manager. As 51 goes wide, and someone goes wider still. 51 was Matt Rowe, who qualified quite well on the outside of the 2nd row of the grid. On board with Christian White then, so let's just try and figure out where White is as they come towards the end of lap number 1. He's in about, I think, 5th position, isn't he? As they make their way out of Goddard onto the start and finish straight. 78 car there, that is Pete Seeley. That's the ex-Wallace car that he's in. Yellow flag's waving because the recovery is going on up at Redgate, at the first corner, or the exit of Redgate, I should say. Here's Farrelly. He's just been passed by the 85 car, which is Nigel Ralphson. Ralphson holds on to that position, so it's Lewis Ward actually that has the lead then. First time we've really seen him out in front. Second is number 11, which is Jim Davis. And Davis here has the advantage in the championship, of course. Meanwhile, Chris White needs to make up places, and he's doing exactly that, side by side with Matt Rowe. Matt Rowe in the best of the roadsters at the moment, the Mark III as opposed to the Mark II, which is what you find Chris White in. There's Sean Traynor, the outgoing champion, number 27. Didn't have a particularly good start to the season, didn't Sean? Has got his act together in the second part of the year, 4 wins, 4 second places, but it's come too late for the championship. There's a yellow flag there on the exit of Coppice, so I think someone has possibly stopped on the way down the exhibition straight. Meanwhile, the battle for the lead of the race continues, and it is number 40, Lewis Ward, who is ahead. He had that misfortune when his wheel failed last time out at Rockingham, when he was in a good position, of course. He has lost the lead here to Jim Davis. Jim Davis, better run out of Foggers, but he's gone too deep there at the Melbourne hairpin. I thought Lewis Ward might get the cutback. Based in East Anglia these days, he is Lewis Ward, but hails originally from the West Midlands, from Stourport area. He's trying to get the lead back, and that's the damage to Mick Nicholls' car. I think that's what you call crumpled. May well attract the attention of the officials. Hang on, that is the 95 car out of shape, which is Anthony Day. Very sideways indeed. So it's Jim Davis that now leads from number 40, Lewis Ward in second place. Third is Shane Mansbridge. Fourth is Tim Heron. In fifth place is Chris White, and then Matt Rowe, the first of those roadsters, the silver-coloured car. He's in sixth position then. Seventh is Ben Rowe. Now Ben was very lucky because he was in the gravel trap on the outlap in qualifying, but managed to excavate himself from there with the help of the marshals, got back onto the circuit just in time to set a reasonably respectable lap time before the red flags went out for another incident. This Ward back on board with him as he retakes the lead, but McLean's climbing now up the hill towards Coppice Corner, so it's Lewis Ward, number 40, back in front. From Jim Davis's point of view, so long as he finishes ahead of his rival Chris White, it's all good, but he wants the lead back, and he's side by side with Lewis Ward now. Shane Mansbridge has a grandstand view of this. Lewis Ward has gone on the left-hand side of the circuit. That's the inside line for the next corner, which is the Fogarty S's, and Ward holds on. Importantly for Jim Davis in second place, though, there's still a 2-car buffer between him and Chris White. It's Chris White who needs to finish ahead of Davis, really, to try and take the fight to him going into the last round of the championship later on today. Oh, now Davis here in danger of losing a position to Shane Mansbridge, and worse still is up to fourth place. Now it's gone Chris White. Meanwhile, you've got Sean Traynor and Ben Rowe there battling over position with Matt Rowe. So Ben ahead of his brother now. So it's Ward, Davis back to second, then it's Mansbridge, but White now ahead of Heron and up into fourth place. 6th, 7th and 8th go through, a gap back to 9th place, which is Stuart Nichols, I think, and a sideways car in 10th place, I think, was Paul Cook. On board with Mick Nicholls, still with this damage to the front of his car. Over the line he goes. Now there is a flag hanging out, and that is a black and orange flag, and it's got his number by it. And that means that Mick has to pull into the pits because the scrutineers aren't happy with the damage to that car, and it could cause a further incident. One car, I'm afraid, going off the circuit there under yellow flags while a vehicle is being recovered under live snatch, which isn't that clever, it must be said. That's the Ray Couchman car being dealt with. We go back on board with Chris White, and look at this, he's making it round towards the top 3 now. It's Shane Mansbridge that is the next target. That's the car number 34 for the man from Norwich, having one of his stronger weekends really, after a good qualifying that put him on the front row of the grid, just a couple of tenths behind the pole position man, but he loses third place there to Christian White at Coppice. So down the exhibition straight, White now in the black car, the Russell Hennessy prepared car, is up into third position. It's Ward leading. In second place it's the number 11 car of Jim Davis, and now third is Chris White. So the two championship contenders, second and third. It's that Rogue Motorsport liveried car. number 11, Jim Davis, that has the cards in the championship at the moment. He's leading the way, as I say, by 11 points coming into this weekend's action. But already Chris White has taken quite a bit of time out of the top two, and Jim Davis certainly doesn't want to be battling now with Lewis Ward. I think they probably want to sort of work together to try and get away from Chris White. It's been a good drive by Chris to get back. As we look at battles further down the order, including Martin Fowley. A couple of places ahead of him is the number 33 car of Alex Knight as well. He's been an MR2 race winner in the past, and well, this season has been pretty competitive with lots and lots of different drivers on the podiums during the course of this year. This is round 15 of the championship. It's a 16-round contest for the Toyota MR2 Championship this year. Sean Trainer and Ben Rowe, the Devonian, going through shot. And then we'll look at this next group of cars. There's 9 Fowley. He's just behind the number 83 car of William Gallagher, the Skelmersdale driver. Oh, and Lewis Ward under threat now from Jim Davis, and Davis, I think, he's thinking, I really need to get ahead of Lewis now because Chris is coming for me. Side by side, over the line. They're coming into a yellow flag zone, I think, here, because there's a vehicle being snatched from the gravel trap at the Fogarty S's. So no overtaking there, and I think that's what Lewis Ward was possibly indicating with his hand as they came out of Coppicedown Straight, that he could see yellow flags ahead. So down towards the Melbourne hairpin, back into green flag racing. Jim Davis goes very wide indeed, and Lewis Ward's going to go back through, and Chris White might follow as well in the number 2 car. The man from Maidenhead, who was runner-up in the championship last year, capitalises on that mistake by Jim Davis, goes back up to P2. Davis will fight back in that number 11 car, the man from Stratford-upon-Avon. Over the line they go. So it's Ward, White from 6th on the grid up to 2nd, and now Davis in 3rd, and now White goes for the lead at Redgate Corner. He can't quite make that work. But this is just really good racing. There's great battles all the way down the order. There is Mick Nichols. Well, he's still circulating. He should have called into the pits by now, and now it's a black flag, not a black and orange. He's going to be in some serious trouble with the clerk of the course, but he's still trying to get past the number 80 car of the Romford man, David Asprey, as they head down to Redgate Corner. Up ahead of them is number 29, which is Martin Fahey. Also number 60, Trevor Cooper, brother of Alan. Oh, and there's Fahey off again, just as he was on the first lap of that part of the circuit. This the battle for the lead then. It's Ward versus number 2, White, and versus number 11. And that's Jim Davis. Now a better run there through the Fogarty S's, I thought, for the man in 2nd place. And it's side by side, but now it's White that has his nose in front. He locks up. Does he run wide? Does Ward get back on the exit of the corner? No, he does not. White asserts his authority and holds on to the lead, and Lewis Ward might lose another place here to Jim Davis, who was on his outside as they go into the left-hander at Goddard. This is just brilliant racing from the Toyota MR2 Championship. I think Ward's just about clung on to 2nd place there, but now it's Christian White that leads. And they're on to the last lap of the race, up towards Redgate Corner. If it stays like this, this is just brilliant for Chris White. Lewis Ward, though, wants to get back in front. He's determined to score his maiden victory in the Toyota MR2 Championship. Ward's had some pretty decent results this season, 4 podium finishes along the way, but he's not yet finished in P1. There's Mick Nichols, still sporting that damage, still continuing on, and that black flag now being waved with rather more vigour. But the last lap board also now out. White still ahead, Ward in his mirrors, and so's Davis as well. One slip here could be very costly, not just in this race, but in the championship. Up towards Coppice for the final time, with half a lap and then one more race to go. And the gap will be narrower than it was if it stays like this. Davis trying to get one place back here, trying to pull alongside Lewis Ward now as they head past the exhibition centre, down to the Fogarty S's, the left-right flick. Pretty quick chicane actually. They will try and carry as much speed as possible through this, carry that momentum down towards the Melbourne hairpin. Pretty even run through there. Who's going to be latest on the brakes though? Into the right-hander. Well, again, pretty even on the way into the corner. No funny business on the way out of the corner either. So it's all going to be down to Goddard, but I think it looks like it's going to finish in this order now. You've got Heron there and Mansbridge in the background. They're not too far away behind this battle for the podium positions. But it's going to be Chris White that comes through Goddard. A wonderful drive this from 6th on the grid to victory in round 15 of the Toyota MR2 Championship. Second place goes the way of Lewis Ward, and third to Jim Davis. Tim Heron it is that gets fourth, with Shane Mansbridge fifth and Sean Traynor completing the top 6. The Roadster class in the end won by Stuart Nichols. Over the line he goes in 8th position overall. Celebrations for Christian White, who won that race by just under 1 second in the end. He also got the point for the fastest lap and a lap record as well, 1:53.91. Ward, Davis, Heron, Mansbridge, Traynor rounding out the top 6, then Ben Rose, Stuart Nichols, Paul Cook and William Gallagher completing the top 10. Further back in 11th place was Martin Fowley ahead of Alex Knight and Chris Thomas. Dawn Tunbridge, an excellent drive to 14th. Matt Rowe, after good qualifying, dropping back to 15th position in the end.
Christian, you know what you needed to do. Well done on the win.
Yeah, thanks ever so much. It's a hard-fought race. Guys did a good job. Lewis particularly there, a bit hard to pass, and it's a fantastic result for us. We're really pleased.
And luckily, everything kind of went your way. You started 6th on the grid. You found your way through, and that's what you need to be doing.
Yeah, I had a bit of a bump into turn 1. Someone ran wide and knocked me off. I had a lot of work to do, but car's working really well. Russ Hennessy's done a good job. Friends and family here to support, so we're absolutely ecstatic.
I'm sure you would have liked a few more places between you and Jim as well.
Yeah, I think it's done, to be fair, but no, I'm happy to be where I am.
Lewis, you tried your absolute best, very impressive drive. Not quite the win, but a 2nd place will do for now.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic race. Got a really good start.